got a fortune cookie here.
Oh, tell me about it.
I'm going to open it up. Let's see what it says. Oh, got to get that. Can you hear that plastic
Yeah.
crumpling?
Yep.
The industrial plastic housing this thing, which I'm sure is non-toxic. Let's see here. Oh, I got to eat the part that doesn't have the fortune in it first. Welcome, Leia plus size. Okay. Right. Gotta crunch it down. Gotta swallow. Gulp. Okay, now I gotta pull it out. Let's see what it says here. Don't miss out on your chance to win big. Oh, that's the lucky numbers. That's on the back. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Make sure you play those numbers, man.
This is the first.
Sure,
Remember to take care of your aspirations. They hold the keys to your future.
We'll talk about some aspirations later on in the stream. That's for sure. Absolutely.
All right. That's an interesting word, aspiration, right?
Yes. Yes.
Makes you think of a certain man, a certain Superman.
Yeah, an aspirational hero. That's right.
Right.
Or at least he should be.
Unless he's snapping necks and then screaming about it after.
Well, yeah.
And then getting his butt kicked by Batman. Anyway, welcome everybody to Geeky Geezers. I'm your host, Agent Boomer. This is my co-host, Pacelli.
Hello.
Welcome, Space Fraggle. Welcome, Mike Plume. If I'm not seeing you, welcome. Okay.
Yeah, he might not actually be here, but he did become a member of both my channel and Netter's last night. So welcome, Mike Plum.
Okay, look forward to the show tonight, Agent Boomer. I'm looking forward to it too, but I don't have to look forward to it because it's happening now.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Mark Malnikoff, Kapla. But
yes. Yeah.
I will try to drop in later. However, things on Rue Pente are not what they used to be, especially this time of the year. So if I don't make it, have a great stream. That's not a vacation destination. That's not a Riza.
No, but it is where he works, and it's absolutely not a pleasant place to be. Let me tell you.
Have a great stream, my geezerific friends. Merry Christmas, everyone. Merry Christmas, Big Al. Merry Christmas to everyone in the chat, including you, deleted seats. I should have mentioned that on your chat, in your chat tonight. Curtis Selby, welcome. Let's see, Connie Cleary, welcome. Let's just keep going through these. We got a lot of stuff to get to tonight. Welcome, Last Call with Troy Pacelli. Oh, never mind. Let's see here. Netter's never got a hi, Netter. Hi, sweetie. Thank you. Hi, Netter. Deleted scenes, welcome. And D Pensec Matanui, hi. D Pensec, Leia plus size, good evening. Space Fraggle, Evelyn Hampton, welcome.
Oh, welcome, Evelyn.
And I don't know if more of you will start spilling in. Where is everybody tonight? You think it's like a Christmas week or something? Oh,
I know, right? It's the holidays, I guess. I don't know.
Despite the fact that it's the holidays, we still got plenty of stuff to talk about, including we'll have stuff to talk about next weekend too. Merry Christmas, thank you, Connie Cleary. Absolutely. Merry Christmas to you as well.
Yeah,
and
less so sparse. Maybe if you guys would all share out the stream and make sure you get your friends in here.
Yeah, man.
We need to hear the things we're talking about tonight. What are we talking about tonight?
We're going to be talking about possible selling of Spider-Man back to Disney, which I'm going to call something on. But
yeah, I got some thoughts on that.
I got to save it because my thoughts are going to be real quick on that. But also the big Superman trailer that got released. In fact, I remember a couple weeks ago I was saying, "Hey, Warner's, you need to get the hype train started on this movie because you just came off of Joker, Folie à Deux or whatever it's called, and all this other nonsense." Yeah. So you got to start the hype train for Superman. And well, and they did. They dropped the trailer this week, so we will give you our thoughts.
And there are people talking about it. That is true. Whether you would consider that hype or not,
okay,
we'll get into.
I do want to say, if you liked the trailer or didn't like the trailer, you're welcome in the chat. Okay, we will not attack.
Yeah. Because honestly, we're kind of two minds ourselves.
We're of two minds. I have skepticism.
I mean, each of us are of two minds.
There were a couple things I liked. I wish the movie was just about one thing. And that includes a furry face and a tail. But
I'm going to say that for a teaser, there's a good deal to say about it.
yes,
A teaser is what a teaser is. It is marketing, and how you market your movie sends a message. And we're going to talk about what that message is.
It's just not the mark of the trailer. It's all the stuff coming out after, the interviews coming out. That is also markeing.
That is true.
And we're going to be talking about that tonight.
There's James Gunn's own words that we're going to use against.
Yeah. There we go. Okay. Anyway, let's get into this though. But we always like to talk about the good old days. And I figure
it is like a palate cleanser. We can talk about the things that we loved and why we love them before we start getting into why they're being desecrated now.
Yes. So here we go. Lois and Clark, the new adventures of Superman.
This was, of course, one of the most famous promotional stills. It's really just from a promo series of photographs that they took. And there's a whole bunch of them. This is the most famous one, but the whole series of them very much played to the and you get it in the title, right? All this is a title card. It's a title and a still photograph, but it tells you a lot about what the show's going to be about. It's about the relationship between Lois and Clark, and that really is what it focused on. There was a lot of adventure, a lot of Superman story, a lot of lore.
Friendship that blossoms into more, basically. As
right? Absolutely. Yes. And literally led up to their wedding.
Yep.
It was definitely about their relationship. So you can get a lot of information from just a still photograph and a title. Yeah, Terry Hatcher was very attractive. Yep. Two actors here that weren't your typical castings for those roles, right? I mean, Dean Cain
yep.
is not your typical white boy, right?
No.
He's of mixed ethnicity,
right?
Right, and actually, I think so is Terry Hatcher, isn't she?
I don't know.
He's got some Mediterranean, some European. I don't know for sure.
But he really did personify Superman. I mean, we always talk about Christopher Reeve and all the other, but he did a great job too. And let's not. I am going to say this. I did watch an episode or two of this before the show tonight because I never watched it as I think regularly as you did, Troy. But I will say this is a very wholesome show.
It is. It really is.
We don't get a lot of that with the superheroes now. And if anything needs to be wholesome, I think it is Superman. This should be a show that a child can watch and feel safe to watch.
And at the same time, And at the same time, it wasn't cartoonish. I mean, sometimes it did get a little cartoonish, but the overall stories and the overall character beats and even some of the lore aspects were not talking down to children, and they dealt with them in some very adult ways. For example, these days we live, and we'll definitely be getting into this more as we get into the stream, but we live in an era where everyone wants to deconstruct the superheroes. They want to poke at things like the briefs and the cape and the glasses being a disguise and this and this and this and this.
Oh, please.
And Lois and Clark did that to a degree, but they justified them. Like he's wearing the tights and he's got the briefs and the cape, and someone gets on him about some aspect of his suit looking stupid, and he just looks down at him and says, "My mom made this for me."
There you go.
When Superman says that with a bit of attitude, you're like, it's perfectly fine. I like it now. It's great, And they did play around with the glasses and the whatnot. But I do also think that anyone watching the show would look at it and go, we're looking at Superman and Clark as two different people that, sure, they resemble each other, but I would not assume they were the same person, because it's not just the glasses. It's the glasses. It's the outfit. It's the hair, right? I mean, that was a big one. This show came right off of Hatcher's father is Welsh in ancestry, French, German, and Syrian. Okay, thank you.
I think so it wasn't both of them played this role to a T. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. This was drawing on the lore. Oh, and I'm going to, since you have this picture up, I'm going to make another comment. His costume changed throughout the seasons.
Oh, okay.
It started out, I'm guessing this is probably from second season. The first season, the cape was very much like that, but it was even more clunky.
Okay.
And it wasn't until the last season where it was all tucked in and more like the Christopher Reeve look.
I got you.
It's like they were working on getting it right. And that's fine too, especially since you would imagine Superman would do the same thing, right? He starts out with a costume. Yeah, this isn't quite right. Let me change this up a little bit and so forth. But this whole series was happening at a time when the comics were kind of rebooting they were rebooting everyone, really.
Yeah.
But Superman and Wonder Woman were the two that were probably rebooted the most.
Right.
And whereas like the Flash, it was a handoff of the mantle. Barry Allen had died in the Crisis on Infinite Earths. He was turning over the mantle to Wally West, who was becoming the new Flash. Batman, it was a very soft reboot with Batman. Wonder Woman, her whole history was completely thrown out, and they're rebooting it. So she's first coming into man's world in the current era.
Right.
So she's just being introduced. Superman, they did something that I think the new movies might be doing, saying he's been active as Superman for a while, and we're going to get to know him, and they're going to fill in a little bit of that backstory. But you know all the major beats, right? You know his origin and all that kind of stuff.
His high school girlfriend, Lana Lang, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Exactly. In fact, in the comics, they did three miniseries. The World of Smallville, World of Krypton, World of Smallville, and the World of Metropolis. They were 6 issues each over the course of, I want to say, 6 months. They got them out pretty quick, and it was to just basically retell those stories you already know, just with this new Superman. And boom, you're all caught up. We jump ahead about a year. He's been working at the planet and all this kind of stuff. Well, Lois and Clark kind of does the same thing. It starts out with him coming to Metropolis. It's almost, in a way, even though it was done like a decade before Smallville, it's like the sequel to Smallville. Smallville almost could lead into Lois and Clark.
Right. I mean, but this is him.
Not quite, but
not quite, because of course in Smallville, Lois knows who he is already. But right. On this though, I remembered. Does she stop by his apartment and like he's shirtless and all buff looking, but then she looks in his cabinets and sees all this junk food like cookies and stuff, and she's like, I don't understand. like
when you eat like a 12-year-old. How are you Mr. Hardbody? And I gotta tell you, when I first saw that back in the 90s, I was like, oh my God, that was almost exactly right out of the reboot comic book. Because there's an identical scene where Lois shows up at his apartment and he's got his, weightlifting gym like in the front room. And she sits down and starts curling, what she assumed would be his regular curl weights. She's like, how do you keep so hard body with such light weights? And of course, he gets this thought bubble. Yeah, I never really thought about that. It's not much of a cover if, he's like, well, I do more reps,
There
and
you go.
She's like, well, yeah, I guess. But what did she say?
You're wasting time, or I forget.
No. Yeah, something like you're taking too long. You got to min max and stuff. I'm like, that was well thought out, and I love the fact that they're basically saying, yeah, comic book story, but we're going to put our. Yes, this is the later seasons with the cape all tucked in. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But there were a lot of other characters on this show. There was, of course, a Jimmy Olsen, which got replaced by this Jimmy Olsen later on.
Yeah. Yep. Isn't that the same kid that played Indiana Jones in the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, or am I mistaken?
He looks like him, but it's not the same actor. They have a similar look. They had like a similar hairstyle.
Yeah. Well, it was the style at the time.
It was the 90s, which isn't a bad look. I mean, everyone on the show looked fashionable, even though it's 90s.
I can't say too much about hairstyles. I mean, I just wish I had hair, you know.
One thing I like Clark's ties. How he's all professional with the suit, but he has a little bit more fun with the ties. I thought that was
and that was another thing that they were kind of getting away from a running trope in the comics up to that era. He always had the same tie. It was a red and blue or red and black striped tie, and it was always the same tie and always the same blue suit. So they clearly were getting away from that and saying, come on, let's be realistic. Clark's going to wear a couple different suits, maybe not a bunch of them. They'll have a couple different style suits, probably a bunch of ties to change it up.
Right.
You know, you'll notice too that, Clark's hair, right? Clark's hair, and then go to the previous Superman picture. See, this is kind of a swap from what they did in the comics. In the comics, it was Clark who had his hair slicked back, and then it was Superman who had the kind of waves and the spit curl. I don't know why they changed it in this, but it still establishes, hey, very different look. Come on, that is a very different looking person than the next picture.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Yeah. I would not look at those two people and assume they were the same person. I just wouldn't. You know?
Yeah. All right. Yeah, because they do look different. I mean, that's the thing. People kind of a similar look too, and people with glasses on, they can look radically different. Sometimes.
You look at Keira Knightley and Natalie Portman, and not mistake them for each other. Apparently, on the set of the prequels, the Star Wars prequel, I think it was Keira Knightley's mother mistook Natalie Portman for her own daughter.
I got you.
You know,
there's Perry White.
Oh my gosh, yeah. This was another great interpretation of the character, a little bit more modern, right? So the Perry White that we all knew from the George Reeve era, the Christopher Reeve era, right? Great Caesar's ghost was his, exclamation, right? Changes that to Great Shades of Elvis, which
he was a big
is
Elvis
slightly more modern. It makes a little bit more sense. It's still a little outdated for the younger, but it would be appropriate for the age
who Elvis
he's
was
portraying.
Yeah,
and they gave him this interest in Elvis. He even has an episode where he dresses up like Elvis and sings a song and whatnot. And I just love that. That just, for me, that's just, that just hits me where I live.
I did watch a Superboy series. I consider doing that for the Good Old Days tonight. We may touch on that in a later Good Old Days.
I've got all of those on DVD too. Yeah. Oh, Stacey Hayduke as Lana Lang. My goodness. And welcome Zootopia. I see you there.
That had a great actor playing Lex Luthor on that show too, as I recall.
Two of them actually.
Tracy Scoggins as Cat Grant. Is that correct?
Yes, she was. And this was Cat Grant had just been introduced in the comics, and they were playing her exactly the way she was in the comics. Different hairstyle, right, but basically the same character. The vamp to kind of throw a little bit of what do they call it? Like a love triangle, or the other woman trying to take Clark away from
Basically,
Lois.
She thinks Clark's hot, right? So I'll go out with him, and Lois is.
Which is also, I mean, that really lends itself to that whole dynamic, because it had been up to this point very easy to have Lois in love with Superman and having no interest in Clark. She never noticed Clark. Right? And they could do that for years. But they clearly on this show were like, let's move this along. We need to get a relationship going along with Clark. How do we do that? We got to get her to notice him. So the first thing they do is he doesn't hide his muscles. Human beings can be muscular and good looking, right?
Yes.
And throw in the other woman who's showing interest in him. There's nothing that'll get a girl's attention more than some other girl being interested in a guy.
And then, of course, we have Lex Luthor in the first season, who is almost a romantic. I think is a romantic interest for Lois Lane. Correct? Yes. And
I felt that this casting was an improvement over what they were doing in the comics at the time.
Okay.
Because at the time,
it was they had
Luthor. Well, clone Luthor comes along later. It was almost like they use a clone of Luthor to correct something that shouldn't have been in the first place. They made Lex Luthor a contemporary of Clark's parents. He was their age. So him being interested in Lois, of course, is incredibly creepy, even more so than the fact that, Lex Luthor is interested in Lois Lane, right? But this casting brings him down to like their peer group, which works a lot better.
Well, like on Smallville, I think they had it right. Yes. Lex Luthor was college age, while Clark and Lana Lang and probably Lois would be in high school, right? Yeah. So
the older Lex in the John Byrne era was the one misstep that I kind of struggled with that they eventually corrected.
Can't stay. Have a great morning. Have an early morning. Have a great
show. Thank you, Pacific 4014. Thanks so much.
Later on in the series, though, he gets the classic Lex Luthor look because he loses his hair, correct?
Yes, he does. Absolutely. Again, all based on his own machinations. It's kind of his own fault, but he blames Superman for all of his problems.
Of course he does, because that's what you do when you're the villain. When you're a good person, takes responsibility for their own mishaps. Even Superman would do that, but yeah. We have Metallo shows up on the show. I didn't realize that.
Yes, he did. And again, very, very much in line with what we were seeing in the comics at the time. Someone who receives cybernetics powered by kryptonite.
Yeah. The prankster played by Bronson Pinchot.
Bronson Pinchot, yes.
Oh my goodness! And look at him there. I was watching a bit of that episode for the stream. Really great actor. He was on Perfect Strangers. He was on Beverly Hills Cop. To see him on this as the prankster, I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, he chewed the scenery. He was brilliant.
I don't know. Did they get Mr. Mixo-Spitlick on this show? I want to say they did, but I don't remember.
I remember for sure that he was in Superboy. I don't remember if he was in this or not.
I don't know. I always thought my dream casting for him would have been Jerry Seinfeld to play Mr. Mixo-Spitlick.
Oh yeah, I could kind of see that. Yeah,
Jerry Seinfeld.
I would love
to. Fan, so yeah.
If they were to do that though, I would want them, especially if they did it now.
Yeah.
Use some CG to and
maybe, make him look like the
what do you call it, forced perspective and stuff to make him a little person with a bigger head, and stuff. And
that's what they did on the Superman the Animated Series, and Gilbert Gottfried did his voice. So
right. Oh gosh, that was perfect voice casting for that. Right.
One of the writers for Superman the Animated Series says that's Mr. Mixo-Spitlick, Superman's greatest adversary. He basically said that's his arch nemesis. I don't care what people say about Luthor and Darkseid. No, it's Mr. Mixo-Spitlick. And I'm telling you, they could have fun in a live action movie with Mr. Mixo-Spitlick. But
yeah, they could. Absolutely.
The actor who played George Jefferson, I should know his name, but he played Winslow Schott.
Yep.
And it was kind of a touching story where he was angry because the kids rejected his nice teddy bear, and then he makes this, and then he makes this Sherman Hemsley, that's right,
Sherman Hemsley,
from All in the Family, and then later on for the Jeffersons. But he played Winslow Schott. Funny, Wheezy guest starred in this episode too. Remember? You didn't remember this episode?
No, I missed what you said because I was reading Nate's.
His wife from the Jeffersons was on this episode too. Remember?
Oh, that's right. That's right.
It was like a reunion, kind of.
Right.
It was interesting, and you know who else was in this episode? Denise Richards, I believe, shows up as like the new girl in the office that Jimmy Olsen has a crush on.
Oh yeah. Probably would have been good to have her play Lucy Lane. That would have been good casting.
They got another Toyman later on, but as we remember, there are many different Toymans in the comics, right? There's like 3 or 4 of them, right? So this is probably the other one. He looks rather creepy, but
yeah.
And I remember Raquel Welch showed up in an episode. I remember when that episode was on. She always looks great. Let's be honest.
No kidding, no doubt about it.
And she,
I was yesterday years old when I found out that she was originally supposed to appear in the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Oh, that's too bad, or maybe not too bad. But I think she was an agent of Intergang, right? That was what she was.
Yes, I always thought that was I understood what they were going for in the comics. They had, if you have Interpol, you're going to have Intergang, but it just sounds so dumb. But it's this idea that just like the world's police departments work
the
together.
World Crime League from
it's a crime, worldwide crime organization. Sure, just come up with a better name, guys. Come on.
Well, they called it Intergang on Superman the Animated Series. Bruno Mannheim was leading it.
Oh no, it's established comic book canon. They were being faithful to it, but there is some comic book canon where it's like, you know what? Maybe it's time to change this a little bit. Find a better name for them. The organization formerly known as Intergang.
And of course we have is this Tempest? What's his name?
Yes. Time traveler.
The time traveler from the future. He'd show up in a few episodes. He kidnaps H.G. Wells, remember?
Yes, and this basically is kind of keeping in the zeitgeist of the canon of Time After Time.
Yeah, basically, yeah. And he comes from a future because of Superman's example, humanity eventually achieves utopia, right?
Right.
But he doesn't like utopia. He thinks because he's basically a psychopath, and he says this is boring. And he's like, I want to come back to this era when I can start shooting at people and rob banks and do bad things. So
right.
And then he goes up to Lois Lane. It's one of the funniest scenes on the show. It's kind of mean spirited when he goes, you know what they say when they talk about the 20th century, the time I come from. You know what the number one question is? How stupid was Lois Lane? And then he puts a pair of glasses. Look, I'm Clark Kent. Look, I'm Superman. And
exactly.
And he says it right in front of her, and it kind of and she gets very upset at that. And then I think H.G. Wells kind of talks her down. No, it was considered very charming in our time about that, and we didn't look down on you. Don't listen to him. And I think. I think she does lose her memory of what happened this episode too. They go back to her not knowing who Superman is
as I recall, Clark loses his memory of the incident too. It has to do with the time travel itself, but I don't remember if it was this episode or a different one. I want to say that it was in relationship to this when because she confronts Clark with exactly that. She's like, "Yeah, how colossally stupid am I?" And he's like, you got it all wrong, Lois. Superman is what I can do. Clark Kent is who I am.
So you're seeing me as I am.
Yeah, exactly. And that pretty much, and I think everyone universally agrees, that is when you have Superman right. When you understand that, which clearly Dean Cain did, you have a good Superman. But it's very clear that Bryan Singer and Zack Snyder, and I'm gonna guess James Gunn, don't understand that.
Yeah, I hear you're saying, Geek Flag. That was said in Superman the Animated Series. They brought that up. You're still Clark Kent. Superman just helps out from time to time. That's what Paul Kent was telling him. Because he wasn't sure what.
The other thing too is I think there's a little bit of mischaracterization of the Clark that we see. Remember, as opposed to these series like Lois and Clark or the animated series and stuff where you see a whole lot more character development, you only get a couple of movies that establish who Superman is and who Clark is. And if you're really paying attention, you'll pick this up. You kind of get it pretty well in Superman 2, because you see who Clark is when he doesn't have to pretend to be as goofy and bumbling as he is. But he's also not Superman anymore. He doesn't have the superpowers at all. So you get that, you know what? Clark Kent was a little bit goofy. He was a little bit klutzy, right?
Yes.
And that has nothing to do with the fact that he was putting it on. That's really who he is.
Yes.
When he goes out as Superman, that confidence he shows, that's all an act. You know? And as somebody who, you know, does broadcasts on a weekly basis, I know exactly what that's like. If I sound like, you know, I'm really extroverted and I'm really, you know, that's not who I am in real life.
You're more introverted in real life?
I kind of am, yeah.
I didn't know this about
Ask Netter if we ever would have dated if it was all left up to me.
Oh my goodness.
Back then, yeah, you were kind of shy, but you are probably the most outgoing person I know.
Because I force myself to. When we're in a situation where we need me to be, I am. But it's not my natural instinct.
Not your natural state.
Not at all. You know, and that's what Clark is doing all the time. When he has to go out and save the world and save his friends and, you know, get cats out of trees, he puts on the demeanor, right? He hides behind Superman almost, you know? But that gosh darn gee golly, that kind of is who he is.
I was about to say I spent so much time on this picture. I should have spent more time on the Raquel Welch.
Yeah, right.
And of course we have this character who I believe is this the General Zod sort of stand-in on this show. He's not General Zod though.
He was a Kryptonian criminal, and the outfits that they used in this episode, a lot of them were reuses of things. In fact, this one, I don't remember if this was the reuse or if it got reused, because I don't know which came first. In Demolition Man,
interesting.
The cop at the end is wearing this outfit. It's what the rebels underground were wearing, and
it's around the same time.
And the Kryptonian police officers, I think they were wearing outfits that I want to say were taken from the Visitors in V. Pretty sure. Yeah. The wedding. Yep. This whole wedding story was very, this had direct bearing on the whole reason that they had the death of Superman in the comics. They wanted the wedding to coincide with the wedding in the comics and vice versa. They wanted them to, you know, in people's minds, they wanted Superman and Lois are getting married. Well, where are they getting married? In the comics and in the TV show that's on right now. So they're really getting married, right? So they had the storyline all plotted out in the comics, but then there was a writer's strike. And so the season of Lois and Clark got pushed out, and the comics were like, well, crap, we got to do something now for almost a year, you know, to fill in story until they can get married. And of course, this is legend. You know, this story has been told by many people that were in the bullpen at DC Comics. Whether or not it's true, I don't know. But they said that they were brainstorming, you know, what are we going to do for the next year? And they all got so frustrated. One of the writers said, let's just kill Superman.
And that's what they decided.
A couple people left, and then some were like, well, hey, wait a minute. And they started thinking it through. What an emotional hit. You know, if we kill off Superman, you know, and then as we're leading up to a wedding, what a gut punch that's going to be, you know, and of course we're going to bring him back, but, you know, and it really did. It gave them an opportunity to introduce some new characters, some new plot lines that would take them forward. They were very forward thinking in what they were doing. They weren't just focused on the next 6 months to a year. They were thinking this could take us out 5 years with storylines, because that's how we ended up getting the new Supergirl story. We got the clone Con-El, Superboy.
Yeah.
We got the cyborg Superman. We got Steel.
Yep.
And we got the Kryptonian man, the Kryptonian AI from the Phantoms, or not Phantoms, the Fortress of Solitude. These were all characters that they brought in as, in quotes, replacements for Superman, and none of them were replacements. Obviously, some of those characters went on to be bigger characters. Others, not so much.
There was
Eradicator got eradicated.
There was a great documentary on the Superman Doomsday animated movie. They had a documentary on how that all happened, because they were talking and what was interesting is when they talked about the cyborg Superman, it's like there's no gray area that there's something wrong with the cyborg Superman from the get-go.
Right.
Like, I think he's when he confronts criminals, he's killing them like brutally. And like, I think people, he's just rougher edge. No, there's something wrong with him. He's not a hero. There's something wrong, because it's not really Superman.
I just saw they had taken that storyline, the Reign of the Superman, I think it was called. They did an animated feature of that.
They did. This was one that came later than the one I'm talking about.
Yes. And but what it did was it in my mind, it kind of softened Hank Henshaw, the cyborg, so that you don't know right off the bat that he's not Clark come back to life. And they hardened the Eradicator. They made him way more brutal. In the comics, it was a little bit reversed. It was more like the Eradicator was Superman without Clark. He wasn't really brutal, but he was very absolute, very straight to the point.
He was like the Superman of the future on that Legion of Superheroes show.
Exactly. He didn't, he didn't show any knowledge of Lois, or even like he cared about Lois.
Very focused on just doing what he had to do.
And it was Superman duties 24/7. Whereas Hank Henshaw at least was pretending that he, like I've forgotten so much, Lois. I don't remember, but I know you're important to me. And it's like, you kind of want to believe maybe that really is Clark, and this is how they're going to bring him back. And no, it was absolute. You had the wrong idea about both of them. Yeah. Eradicator was Superman with welder goggles. Yes, that's true. Actually, for those of you that only know, the Fortress of Solitude and its lore from the Christopher Reeve. Imagine if the green crystal, the central intelligence of the Fortress of Solitude, upon Clark's death, creates himself a body and goes out and starts doing the Superman thing because Clark is gone. That's basically what the Eradicator was.
Yeah.
But this was the best in even, I would say, even better than Smallville. This one really went for good television, good storytelling, great character development, characters you cared about, while still being very, very faithful to the source material.
Did it have an ending?
Well, it was kind of left on a bit of a cliffhanger.
Okay,
I mean, if you consider that the story of Superman isn't really supposed to have an ending, right? You assume that their story continues. It ended with, of course, they'd already had the wedding, right? Now they're married, and now you're about to go into a period of what do we do with them now that they're married? Well, of course, we're going to have to deal with a child at some point, right? Well, before they even get that far, they had somebody just leave a child on their doorstep. And as it turns out, it wasn't just any random baby being left for any random couple. It was Superman and his wife being targeted to raise a Kryptonian child.
Interesting.
And they had no idea where this baby came from, who left him here. And that was going to be the mystery being solved.
the next season.
The following season that we never got. Now, most comic book fans feel that we got closure to that storyline in more recent comic book storyline because for a brief period, Clark and Lois raised a Kryptonian child that wasn't their flesh and blood. He was the child of General Zod and Ursa.
Oh.
That they had conceived in the Phantom Zone somehow and got out of the Phantom Zone somehow. That was part of the child's ability set, was that because he was born in the Phantom Zone, he was able to leave the Phantom Zone. And their goal was that he would get access to the Fortress of Solitude and eventually let them out. But being raised by Clark, he starts to sympathize with the good guys, you know?
Oh.
And I actually don't remember fully how that storyline resolved, but most people, you know, that were fans of the comics that also loved Lois and Clark were like, that's probably where they were going to go with it, you know?
Any last words, though, on Lois and Clark?
No, I just love it. I've got it all on DVD. I mean, can't take it away from me because I got it on physical media.
It's also on HBO Max, oddly enough, so you can watch it on there. That's
maybe.
Well, yeah, for now at least. And Lester was asking why the Friday Night Last Call thing is in the corner. I think that's just a StreamYard thing, which may change later on. I think.
Oh yeah, it's just my branding, and I set this up in StreamYard, and I don't take it down.
At any rate, and speaking of Friday Night Last Call, I know we typically do this on Geeky Geezers, but I figure we're still going to have news to talk about. I had the idea that our winners, losers, and predictions, winners and losers of 2024, predictions of 2025, we'll do that this Friday on Friday Night Last Call. Now, you can still check it out on this YouTube channel as well as Troy's as well, because it'll be simulcast on both. But,
and I'm actually glad you brought that up too, because I think I'm going to be changing that logo in the new year. I think it's time to retire the Friday night part since I've started doing stuff on just about every night. I think I'm just going to change it to Last Call.
There you go.
You know,
sounds good.
There you go.
Let's move forward to here, and here we are with the news.
Yep.
We're still going to talk a bit about Superman. First, we're going to talk about the trailer that came out. Superman trailer. Initial thoughts when I was watching it. I think we're more positive. I've gotten a little more skeptical since then. But when I first saw it, I see a battered and broken Clark lying in the snow, and I see him whistle, and I say, and that's not a dog. They're not going to do Crypto, dude. You know they're not going to do Crypto. They'll never do Crypto. And then I see something running towards them. It's probably some alien or something. And I was like, it's Crypto. And I got very happy to see Crypto. That's my one thing. I wish this could just be a movie about Superman, Crypto. Lex Luthor can be the villain. You have a romance. Now, there's your movie.
This
there's your extra character that you can have as Crypto. It's about time. I like Crypto, and he's never really been featured heavily in a lot of media.
This scene that they're showing us.
What is this?
Well, it clearly takes place in the Fortress of Solitude. So I have to assume, I can't imagine what else that robot would be other than Kellex. Which
because Superman has a robot, correct? Didn't he build a robot? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And Kellex is like a servant robot that
like an Alfred, basically.
His father, that served his father, then served him. Not to be confused with the various Superman robots that he made over time to act as decoys and, you know, things like that. These humanoid-looking things. So I don't know. That's what this could be, or because it sure doesn't look like Kellex that I've seen in the comics, but.
Unless it's some Lex Luthor droid or something. I don't know what any of this is. See, here's the
problem. It looks like he's concerned over it, as if, you know, he's got some feelings about it. So that's what led me to think that. But
you don't open a trailer with Superman bloody and beaten. That trailer. We're going to talk about that.
Yeah, so if
we got articles about that. Yeah.
If you saw the thumbnail for tonight, I think you kind of got where I stand on this. I had, you know, across the top, Superman 2025 with, you know, the script that they've given us. And what were all the pictures? It was Guy Gardner, Hawk Girl, Crypto, Mr. Terrific, and then bloody beaten Superman down in the corner. And look, if you're going to give us a teaser trailer for a movie called Superman, you don't fill it with all the ancillary characters. What this tells me very loudly and clearly, whether this is the case or not, this is the message they are sending. This movie is not really a Superman movie, despite what we called it. Superman is ancillary. He's a supporting character. We're building our DC universe with this movie. This is a commercial for all the future stuff we're going to do. And that's why every time I've talked about this on social media, I've said hashtag Marvel mistakes. They're doing the exact same things that have ruined Marvel.
I'm worried. Warner Brothers, in my opinion, they don't get a grace period from me anymore. They've made and not just with DC. They've made mistakes just in general as an entertainment company.
Oh yeah,
they have been turning out crap for a while. I mean, I didn't see the Beetlejuice sequel. I guess that was all right, but that
Darth Plato is 100% right, because they're aiming for a DCU movie, not a Superman movie. And my problem with that is, well, I don't even really have a problem with that. That's fine. Then call it Justice League or call it whatever team name that they're actually doing. Call it Maxwell Lord Industries or whatever. If you're going to call it Superman, you make it a damn Superman movie.
I'm tired of Maxwell Lord. I feel he's one of these supervillains that they keep throwing out there that I'm supposed to be impressed with. You have Lex Luthor. There's your villain in the movie. And to be fair, Nicholas Hoult looks good as Lex Luthor. I was surprised.
Yeah, he does.
He's pulling it off.
Mananui makes another great point. That was the same mistake they made with BVS. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And it's the mistake that Marvel's been making ever since the Avengers. Because up to the Avengers, every superhero got their own movie with some little, lore building, universe building.
I did feel Iron Man 2 had Iron Man 2 had stuff kind of crammed in it too, but
and that's where it started to go wrong. Then by the time you get to Captain America and the Winter Soldier, that is not a Captain America movie. That's a friggin' Avengers movie.
Well, wait a minute. We're talking about Civil War or Winter Soldier?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. No, okay. I meant Civil War.
Yeah, because because I'll say this: Winter Soldier. Yes, it's
see, they're running together in my mind now.
Yeah, but at least with Winter Soldier, yes, you have Falcon, but he's a known friend of Cap's in the comics. It makes sense for him to be there. Black Widow's there. I think they're lending support to Captain America rather than overshadowing his own movie.
And when you consider the again the source material, you are talking about characters that absolutely were supporting characters in the Captain America line, right? I mean, for a long time, the Falcon was his Bucky Barnes when there was no Bucky Barnes.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mananui. But yeah, let's get into the articles now, shall we? This is the post reveal. This was
Wait a minute. I'm sorry, I haven't been dropping. I haven't dropped.
It's okay.
I didn't even drop the
trailer. Yeah, put the trailer in there.
I meant to drop the trailer.
Has anyone not watched the trailer yet?
If you haven't, let me just. This is what we're talking about. It sounds like
we were talking about the trailer. I tried finding a picture that's not in one of the articles. That's why I got the robot here, because it wasn't featured anywhere.
That's fair. But now we're going to get into this
trailer. I'll say this: there was like a teaser trailer. It was like 30 seconds, which I think had footage that wasn't in the main trailer. Like I saw Cat Grant in the like the 30-second one, which I thought. I mean, I will say this: the characters, at least looks wise, a lot of them did look comic accurate. I mean,
most of them. I mean, except of course, Perry Black.
They didn't show him in the trailer though. I noticed that. But James Gunn,
which to me is just a bait and switch. It's like, well, we won't show you this thing because it might bother you that we're continuing with this recasting.
I know. Let me see. Here we go. Yeah, so this is James Gunn's Superman debut's first poster that nods to Christopher Reeve's Man of Steel. The wait for the first Superman trailer is almost over. James Gunn's Superman, starring David Cornsweet as the new Man of Steel, will release on Thursday at 6 a.m. Pacific time. Well, we know that we watched it anyway. But Warner Brothers announced on Monday fans got a new look at the superhero with a motion poster that paid homage to Christopher Reeve's iconic version of Superman. The poster depicts Cornsweet's Superman gazing upwards as he takes flight.
Yeah.
The reds, blues, and yellows of his costume blur into the background of the motion poster, creating an eye-catching high-speed effect that makes it seem like Cornsweet's zooming into the sky. The tagline reads, "Look up." Gunn's Superman, formerly titled Superman Legacy, will hit theaters July 11th. I'll say this. The poster looks good. Oh, I did want to read this last blurb. Sorry, it gives the cast. It's the first film released under the new DC Studios, overseen by Gunn and Peter Safran. Cornsweet stars along Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane. Lois Lane should be in a Superman movie. Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor. That's fine. Isabella Marquette as Hawkgirl. Eddie Gathegi as Mr. Terrific. Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner, the Green Lantern. Anthony Kerrigan as Metamorpho. Skylar Gizondo as Jimmy Olsen. Jimmy Olsen should be in the movie. Yes, we have a lot of characters here. Now, I don't know if Metamorpho is going to be used as the villain or the adversary in the movie, I should say, because I don't know if he's a standard villain.
I should think not. I'll bet you he's probably in the same superhero team as Hawkgirl and Guy Gardner and Mr. Terrific. You'll notice they're wearing uniforms that look very similar. And somebody in the one of the commentaries said that that's the costume of Lord Enterprises, superhero team or whatever. It's like a proto Justice League International type of thing. And I'm like, okay.
I'd love to see a Justice League International movie.
I would too, but this isn't the way you introduce it. Not in the Superman movie. And you don't have Superman International until you have Justice League of America.
Now, this is what I'll say in defense of James Gunn. I do believe that he is being forced to put these characters in this movie. I think he probably was just going to do a standard Superman movie. But I don't know. Maybe
I think you're being a little generous, because
I'm probably being generous just based on what I'd heard, though. That's all.
Because I honestly don't believe there's anybody above him in Warner Brothers who even knows who any of those characters are to say you got to get Guy Gardner and Metamorpho in there. This is him.
You got a point.
This is him setting up his niche little ensemble thing that he does. This is what he does. You look at the monster series that he did. You look at Guardians of the Galaxy. You look at Suicide Squad. That's James Gunn. And he's doing it again. And I was afraid this was going to happen. He can't just do Superman. He's got to do his...
He likes ensembles.
Ensemble stories.
But
here's the thing: get his wife into and his buddy and his and his attorney and stuff involved in.
This is what I don't understand though. Superman is ensemble. You have Perry White, you have Jimmy Olsen, you have other reporters, including a prominent black character reporter from the Superman that they could have in there. You have Lex Luthor. You could have other villains. You can have your ensemble already in a Superman cast. Characters that we love like old friends. So I don't know why we need, and I'll be blunt, if it was one superhero making a cameo, I'd probably let it go. It's just that we have so many of them in this.
And I've already heard about some of the Easter eggs. I absolutely have no problem with Easter eggs. Apparently several different people are reading magazines and newspapers that are talking about a situation that's going on in, and I forget the name of the fictional European country, which I am certain is going to be a reference to Ukraine. I can guarantee you it. And it's supposed to have something to do with Gorilla Grodd, which in turn implies a future appearance by the Flash. And I'm going, okay, great. That makes perfect sense if that's the thing that you're leading up to.
He's my favorite DC supervillain, Gorilla Grodd.
Very good character. Yeah, yes. Absolutely.
Guy Gardner is Gunn's new Peacemaker. Oh, but Darth Plato, he's not getting rid of Peacemaker.
Yeah,
John Cena's Peacemaker will be part of this universe. And there was another YouTuber who I don't always agree with his takes, but he was making a point that he did not like Gunn for this because he said people forget Gunn's in charge of that Peacemaker show. And there was a scene where Peacemaker makes a joke to Aquaman, or not even he say, stop blanking the fish, you know. And then Aquaman, and it's Jason Momoa saying, "I hate that rumor." Then Ezra Miller Flash, it's a rumor, and he's saying this is supposed to be family entertainment. That sort of thing shouldn't be in a family show with these family favorite characters. So, and I also didn't like what he said the other week about how you're going to have R-rated fare in this universe, but then the family friendly stuff. I think it's one or the other. I don't know. I don't quite get
incredibly, that. And this is what I've said about these kinds of things. It is so short-sighted. We can't get past this postmodern deconstructionism that people want to do with the superheroes. They're literally dealing with fantasy stories about a man who can fly and shoot laser beams out of his eyes, and they want it to be gritty and realistic. There is nothing realistic about it, and you don't go to fantasy for realism. If I wanted realism, I'd watch a drama or even a historical piece.
Now I have an image of Clark Kent and Porky's using his X-ray vision to peek on the girls in the shower room or something.
Yeah.
And then like him destroying the Porky's establishment instead of them tying it to cars, he could just knock it over, right? This is not good.
It boggles the mind. And this is the same thing that I've been saying about all these franchises. Even if they're doing it in good faith for the fans, if you are writing it just for the fans, just for the adult fans, Superman and these characters have always been maintained at the same age, dealing with the same level of stories. They're not supposed to age up with the audience. They're supposed to bring in the new audience all the time. There's all this talk about, the modern audience, the modern audience, the modern audience. You know who the modern audience is? The next damn generation.
The kids.
So don't make it all R-rated. Make it accessible to the kids. The kids will buy the toys. The kids will love these characters. And then when they're adults, they'll bring their kids to see it.
You need to be focusing on a child should be able to go into this movie and enjoy it. I would be aiming for a PG, not even a PG-13. But
yeah,
what do I know? Let's move on, though. This is, of course, the image. This is the next article when you want to throw it on there.
Oh, yeah.
But this is from they want to deconstruct the heroes we love because they don't like them or believe in them. I want to say something else too. Are the wackos still in charge over DC Comics? Has that changed yet? Because they're all talking about we have to get everything in line. Has anyone brought the hammer down over at DC yet?
I presume it's all the same people, but I do believe that they are acquiescing a lot more to Gunn. I think Gunn has been kind of Warner Brothers. That's the one thing I can say that Warner Brothers is insisting. You know what? We need one vision. It's James Gunn. I think it's a bad choice, but at least they're standing behind him and saying, you know what, guys? This is what we're doing. Better get on board with it.
Yeah. So this is the article. Superman is bruised and bloody in first trailer as James Gunn shares secrets from set. Superman is at a low point when audiences first glimpse him in the trailer for his new movie. Bloody and bruised, he crash lands in a frozen landscape. His breathing is labored, like he's got fluid in his lungs or maybe some broken ribs. Then there is hope on the horizon in the form of his trusty friend Krypto. Take me home, Superman says to his canine friend later in the that part of the trailer I did like. I will admit that I do like.
I mean, you're always gonna tug at my heartstrings when the good boy comes along and is there to help.
And I think Krypto has been severely underused. I would have liked to have seen him in other Superman media over the years. He should have been the extra superhero in the movie, the extra character. That should have been Krypto.
I
instead
agree.
Of all these
100%.
other ones. Yes.
And what they're failing to see here, I think they're going to start getting it from the reactions that I'm hearing from fans. Krypto is going to be the Grogu coming out of this movie. He's going to be heavily marketed. He's going to be the thing that everyone's going to be positive about. Even when they're dumping on everything else about this movie, it's going to be crypto. And I'm going to say rightly so. Hopefully they get the right message out.
But people should have to dump on anything in the movie. And everyone I listen to, even people that are positive or negative, whatever, they all say the same thing. All walks in the internet. They're all saying the same thing. Why are all these characters in this movie? Everyone is saying it. But let's get back to what I was talking about. Okay, so it's one of the only two spoken lines in the piece. The other is a young boy, eyes closed, holding a makeshift flag, who mutters Superman, Superman in desperate hope. But it's a line that points to the hope writer, director James Gunn wants to imbue in this film. Created in 1938, Superman for decades embodied his motto, truth, justice, and the American way, with the character serving as a symbol for the good things American could represent for the world. That notion has become more complicated in recent years, leading the DC to officially drop the motto in favor of truth, justice, and a better tomorrow in 2021. It's weird because I remember being on a stream once a long time ago saying to me, Superman kind of represented a better tomorrow to me. I don't know if somebody ripped me off. Probably not. It's probably just a coincidence. But during a trailer launch event for this press on Monday on the Warner Brothers lot in Burbank, Gunn was asked how he incorporated the decency Superman can represent for America and the rest of the world in the movie. I think that's what Take Me Home is all about, Gunn said. We do have sort of a battered vision of Superman at the beginning, and I think that is our country. I believe in the goodness of human beings, and I believe that most people in this country, despite their ideological beliefs or their politics, are doing their best to get by and trying to be good people, despite what it may seem like for the other side, no matter what the other side might be, continued Gunn.
So when I first heard this, I took it at face value, and I'm like,
all right.
Okay, sure, I understand that. That makes sense. That actually is true.
Yes.
Then I thought more about it, specifically about what Gunn has said about politics for the past 4 to 8 years.
Yes.
And I realized he means specifically one specific side. And this, for all intents and purposes, is another shot across the bow at one specific side of the ideological spectrum and more division, despite what he's saying. I'm sorry, you can't take back what you've already said, what we know you've already said with generalities.
And I'm not quite sure. America battered and bruised, and I'm thinking, are we battered and bruised? I don't really know what he's referring to exactly. I know we had those riots years ago, which was unpleasant, but I don't really know what he's referring to here.
See, they consider those to be protests. Those are okay.
Well,
it was what happened 4 years ago that was bad to them.
Oh, yes, I know. So maybe that's what he's referring to, the political divide, which I think we're all wanting to get past at this point. But maybe not all of us. Maybe certainly not people in Hollywood. There is much writing on. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so the folks over at Midnight's Edge and I think it was WDW Pro himself who specifically said this, was saying, look, it's very clear that he's got there's a villain character. Apparently it's this either Ultraman or whoever he is that we saw. There's a character that you see in the teaser dressed all in black with a hood and goggles, which kind of evokes a little bit of what Doomsday looked like before he reveals himself.
How many characters are in this movie?
And he's got a U symbol on his chest, which people say evokes the Superman from the evil universe.
Are you kidding me?
Which is Ultraman.
You're kidding me.
They're
not going to bring Ultraman into this, I hope.
No, I don't think so.
Let's stop with the multiverse stuff. Let's stop with the multiverse stuff. All right.
Look, I don't know any more than you do, Boomer. I'm just telling you what I think.
No, it's okay. You're
based on my knowledge of the comics. I think that this is actually a character that makes sense if the theory is correct.
All right.
Who's our main villain? Our main villain is Lex Luthor. Luthor doesn't, go fight Superman.
No.
He creates things to fight Superman.
Right.
So what is one of the things he creates? Bizarro. right?
Oh,
and,
okay.
And in the comics, Bizarro starts out as an attempt at a clone of Superman.
All right.
And so a lot of fans are assuming this character, using imagery that evokes Doomsday and Ultraman, kind of sending the message to the fans, this guy is as powerful as Superman. Turns out he's going to be a clone of Superman. He's probably going to degenerate into a,
okay,
scarred looking, white faced, like Bizarro type Superman.
Okay.
But the fact is that gives you the opportunity to have Superman fighting someone who is the same power level as him. In and of itself, that storyline is good. I can deal with that. But based on what this article is saying, I wanted to do this to represent our country. Damn it. Get the hell away from the politics. This is what's destroying Hollywood. If you people haven't figured that out yet, you're too stupid to function. Real quick, I want to say hi. I see we've got some latecomers here. We got Kuhn Matoyer, welcome. We've got Joshua V. I didn't see you earlier. You might have been here. And Dadman Walking, welcome. Good to see you.
Yeah. This movie will have the Authority. Well, we know that he's talked about bringing the Authority into the DC universe, so I don't know if it's going to happen here or I don't know. But let's see. There's much riding on Superman, which arrives July 11th. There is a lot more. The studio is riding on this movie because they've been not been doing hot. Discovery CEO David Zaslav hired them as a mandate to reinvent DC. So this was James Gunn and Superman. Thus, the team is already doing everything it can to build excitement, including the early reception with the press. That also includes stars David Cornsweet, Rachel Brosnahan, and Nicholas Hoult. So there we go.
Again, the casting is, I think, spot on. I haven't, other than Perry Black, I haven't heard anyone have a problem with any of the casting that they've chosen for this film.
But I did want to bring up a point. He makes a point about Lex Luthor. A hero is only as interesting as villain. Holt said the script that Gunn presented Lex Luthor he believes audiences may relate to. Even though you perhaps don't agree with his process, there's an element where you can understand on some level where he's coming from and why perhaps he's pushing as his ideology is perhaps better for humanity, says Holt. I'm not quite sure what that's about.
Interesting what Darth Plato says. So Superman trailer got the Passion of the Christ treatment, beat the crap out of the main character. It's funny you say that because one of the storylines in their Monster Commando Creature
Commandos, yes.
Was some character giving Amanda Waller a view of the future, and it was all of the Justice League up, dead, up on pikes, a la, like Vlad the Impaler, with the exception of Superman. Superman was in the center and he was crucified. That's a bit on the nose.
Yeah. Really?
I am getting tired of this Superman as Christ figure.
No, he doesn't see himself that way, and
he certainly does not.
No,
and nobody should be. He'd be the first one to say no. He even did that in I don't remember which one of the movies it was. Christopher Reeve says something about, we owe you a great debt, Superman. You don't owe me anything. I'm just one of the team or whatever.
We're all on the same team. Yes.
We're all on the same team. Yeah.
Which I think is the point. We all need, he just has powers. That's what he has.
Yeah. I can do more, so I do more.
Yes.
But that doesn't make me better.
So let's go to the next article, which is, because we got a few of these. Look at this.
I dropped it, and this one was...
Oh, you already dropped it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. This one ties directly into what we were talking about. Now, I have to admit, this one kind of flew over my head when I saw it, because I am not the anime guy. Okay. You are.
No, here's the thing. Brandon is the anime guy. No,
he's literally the anime guy.
Here's the deal. I know some things about anime. I used to argue that no one's an expert on anime because, including people that make it, probably. I used to argue because there's always stuff in anime that I'm not going to understand. And to be fair, I was never a watcher of Dragon Ball Z. But let's read this article. As Superman crashes to a snowy Earth in today's trailer for Superman, we see a bloodied Man of Steel looking almost broken. In another shot, Superman is getting trash thrown at him by a slew of people. Not exactly the traditional image we're used to for a guy who saves lives. There's a big symbolism behind what depicts writer and director James Gunn. We do have a battered Superman at the beginning of this, and I think this is our country. Yeah, we heard that already. One of the overarching themes in the reboot of the DC superhero on the big screen for Gunn is that it's a movie about kindness. It's a movie about being good. Now that in and of itself, I'm for. I think that's what this Superman. I think that goes in line with Superman, but I believe in the goodness of human beings, and I believe that most people in the country, we already talked about that, ideological beliefs. Part of me thinks, too, I hate to say this, I'm being very cynical here. Remember, people often said about when Star Wars came out, how the country had just gotten through Vietnam, and people were down in the dumps because things were not going right for the country. And then Star Wars comes out, which was this big feel-good. The good guys win. They blow up the Death Star, and audiences resonated. And part of me wonders how in this days, we've had some very nasty political fights over the last few years. And I don't know if this is their way of saying, oh, here's your feel-good movie to go see. And you can forget about all that. I don't know.
If he had just kept his mouth shut and not said that.
Yeah, I believe in the goodness of human beings. And
this is the point that a lot of people have made about things like Star Trek and all these other things that going back, it was very clear there was some sort of sociological message there, socio-political. But what that message was up to you. It wasn't for us to show it to you and say, now what I meant by this was blah, 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 blah. It was the death of the author. I've given you the symbolism, you project onto it whatever you think is appropriate. If, for example, I were to myself look at the allegory of Superman being broken and decide that it was symbolic of our nation and what we've been through and so forth, that's fine. And then so the other side could say the same thing and we'd probably both be right. But when James Gunn tells us that's what it means, now he's preaching.
Yeah, that's what I have a problem with. If you just
other thing is, another aspect that could have been projected onto this is this character is beaten and bruised because DC has treated this character that way.
Oh,
and it has
the comics, certainly, yes.
The comics and the movies.
And the movies, and it's just...
when I saw that scene where Superman, someone throws a I don't know if it was an empty can or a cup. And
no, it was a rock. In this trailer, it's a rock. He's throwing like a brick or something at his head.
I honestly was like, okay, so are you like kind of canonizing some aspects of Man of Steel? And are you going to then deal with those? Because one of the things that I've said repeatedly about Man of Steel was you went from a movie where he's responsible for the destruction of Metropolis. He brought his problems there, destroyed it, killed all these people, or failed to save them. Nobody has a reason to like him. And then suddenly, everyone thinks he's the greatest thing. They erect a statue to him and is so sad when he dies.
Makes no sense.
That made zero sense. Whereas if they had, shown some... I mean, even the first even Christopher Reeve demonstrated that. We got a whole montage of him arriving in Metropolis and saving a cat from a tree and stopping a bank robber and, stopping the guys that are getting away from the cops.
Stopping Lex Luthor, a human.
And nobody got hurt.
Yes.
And so when you then have him as the hero of the city and everyone loves him, that makes sense. And if then you have the Superman 2 story where Metropolis is getting trashed by the Kryptonians, then you have the opportunity for that that scene from Spider-Man where the New Yorkers see Spider-Man getting beaten and going, hey, this is New York. This is our city. You got to go through us to get to him. And they all know that this supervillain could trounce them, but they don't care because they're inspired by their hero. You could have had that same thing happening in, your Man of Steel, which was supposed to reflect the story that was already done in Superman 2, and they blew it. Again, always putting the end of the story in front. That's how not Bryan Singer. That's how
that was another Superman director.
What's his name? Zack Snyder. That's what Zack Snyder always did. This is where I want to get to, so I'm going to tell that story right now. No, you didn't earn it. You haven't built up to that narrative.
This is the problem. He was hiding out. He didn't even show up as Superman until the Kryptonians show up. So as far as the people on Earth go, he's just another problem from space.
Right. Exactly.
They have no reason instead of seeing him as maybe
and how did Clark deal with it in Superman 2? When he realized, as soon as he realizes people are in danger, he disengages.
Takes them out of
what do they call him? A coward. He's a coward.
No.
And in retrospect, the civilians realize what happened. They realize, oh my gosh, he just saved our lives.
Yeah, he's trying to lead them out of the city.
Yeah.
To a place where people are going to get hurt. Yes.
And so that's why I always got so angry at the Snyder Bros, who were all like, well, he didn't have a choice. He didn't have a choice. I don't know. Christopher Reeve's Superman did, and he did just fine.
Yeah. Back in the article later goes on to say, back in 2018, Gunn came under fire in social media by right-wing commentator Mike Cernovich, who went after the director for his controversial years-old jokes about a word I'm not going to say on air. It's about revolves around harming children. I did see some of these tweets. These were jokes in very poor taste. I think it was edgy humor to impress his friends. This does not mean that I think he endorses that type of behavior. I'm not going to go there with James Gunn. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt there. And to be fair, I think this was kind of a cancellation. I think he did that because the filmmaker was very an outspoken critic of then President Donald Trump at the time. Gunn's remarks prompted Disney to initially cut ties. Remember, Disney cut him loose. Remember that? On the third Guardians movie, until the director was reinstated due to overwhelming support from industry colleagues. My theory was, and I remember at the time, I think that Gunn was going to take over Marvel after Endgame. Like he was going to be the new Kevin Feige, the big producer over there. And because of this incident that happened, that didn't happen. I think he was one supposed to be taking over Marvel.
Yeah.
I think I think then DC snatched him up because, new management, and they figure we'll take this guy because he's going to be the
I am not going to completely piss all over him. He's great at what he does.
Yes.
I loved Guardians of the Galaxy, so putting him in charge of the Suicide Squad made sense.
Or a Justice League International would make sense. Yeah,
absolutely. Yes. If they were to do that, there's still no indication they're going to, but if they were going to do that, he would be perfect for that. And this series that they're going to do, the Green Lantern Corps. That's another one that makes perfect sense for James Gunn. Yeah. I've said this all along, though. I don't think Superman is the thing for him. Matanui says, whether they handle this well remains to be seen. I'm just not to assume it's going to be bad. That's fine, Matanui. You can be hopeful.
Yes,
that's up to you. But I have seen this stuff for so long. I have zero reason to trust these morons. I have seen these mistakes over and over again. I've seen the signs, and unfortunately, I tend to be right. I'm not Nostradamus, but I see history repeat itself.
Okay.
And when it does, I'm sorry. You're going to have to say I was right.
Anyway. I didn't get to the next article. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Hold on.
I had it up though.
Where? Oh, did I boomer this?
Yeah, no.
Oh, the non-proposed. Okay. I got it confused.
Yamka.
I didn't put it up. Okay, you did put it up. And Matanui, I'm going to say this. You can, like I said at the beginning of this stream, you can think it's going to be good. You can think it's going to be bad. We're not going to know really till the movie comes out. I
am calling the balls and the strikes as I see them. Right. I like the introduction of Crypto. I don't like a huge ensemble cast in a Superman movie.
Okay.
I like the idea of Superman being up against something that's as strong as he is, that is a challenge. I don't like the director coming out and saying this represents our country and getting political with it.
Anyway, right? Yes, that's true. And I want to apologize. I didn't actually read from the article I was supposed to be reading from. That was from the prior article. Let's get
I was wondering, because the whole point for this one was the whole Yamcha thing. And I'm like, wait, you haven't even told me yet what this Yamcha is. I don't know what it is.
Okay, let's start over again. Nobody leave, please. Okay, anyway, Superman's Yamcha pose says everything you need to know about David Corenswet's Man of Steel. The Superman trailer depicts the iconic DC hero in a Yamcha pose, and it perfectly demonstrates the direction of David Corenswet's Superman. The trailer for Superman 2025 introduces the DCU's new Man of Steel. Amid the action and drama, Superman is seen lying in the Yamcha, if I'm saying this correctly, pose. This moment is...
Well, all we have to go by is the anglicized way that they've written this. Obviously, they didn't write it in kanji, so all we could do is pronounce it the way it's written in English.
Right. So this moment isn't just a visual Easter egg for anime enthusiasts, but a powerful statement about the direction Corenswet Superman is heading. The DCU Superman is the first film in James Gunn's revamped DC universe, commencing with the cinematic arm, Chapter 1, Gods and Monsters. Gunn has promised a Superman who embodies hope, compassion, and relatability while exploring what it means to be a hero in today's world. Unlike the stoic, godlike portrayal of Superman in some previous iterations, Corenswet's Clark Kent aims to reconnect the character with his roots as a symbol of optimism and perseverance. Superman is often criticized for being too powerful, too perfect, therefore difficult to relate to. However, the DCU Superman trailer confronts this perception head on, opening with a moment of vulnerability, of complete vulnerability in the first seconds of the trailer. Superman bleeds. Not only that, but he mimics a famous death pose and is ultimately saved by Krypto, his dog. This sequence signals that the film isn't just more Superman's physical strength, but his weakness as well. Superman's adorable dog Krypto is making his action big screen debut, so here's how powerful DC Universe's Superdog is compared to the Man of Steel. This depiction of weakness is... Oh, sorry. Okay. The depiction of weakness is more than a storytelling device. It's a statement of Superman's willingness to face failure, pain, and even death. Elevates him as a symbol of resilience. By showing him as most vulnerable, the film reminds audiences that the true strength isn't about being impervious, but about standing back after being knocked down. It's a bold choice that redefines the Man of Steel, emphasizing his humanity in ways that haven't been explored. It signals that Superman is poised to deliver a deeply personal and emotionally resonant take on the classic hero. Now, this is just this one article. People must have pointed out that this is reminiscent of one of the characters from Dragon Ball Z that gets knocked down into this pose. Now, it's funny, I sent you that epic rap battles of history with the Goku versus Superman, which is kind of funny because they're sort of both superheroes in their own cultures, you know. But
the other thing too is, in reading this article, it brings up Tub Thumping by Chubbawamba, right? I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never going to keep me down. And honestly, if that's really all this was, if that was the narrative point of this, I would say great. That's good storytelling. That's what a hero does, right? But as soon as you say, oh, but this is, socio-political, this is our country and blah, 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 blah. Okay, now you've lost me. You've taken me out of good narrative and you've brought us back to everything that's been wrong with Hollywood for the past.
This is marketing. This is all marketing.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. It's a Dragon Ball Z character that is mean for getting his butt kicked a lot. And this is, if that's what they're intending to do with this movie, having Superman get his butt kicked a lot, that's a problem. And I'll explain to you why. Yeah. Justice League, the famous Justice League cartoon that was made by the people that made Batman and Superman animated series, Bruce Timm, they were doing an interview with him on Justice League season 1, and they said, which episode do people hate the most? And they said War World people hated the most. And he basically made a point that during this season, because they didn't want Superman upstaging the other superheroes, they would have him get kind of beaten around a lot by the supervillains or stuff, right? And they said that got the Superman fans really angry because they want to see. And I think they cleaned that up with season 2, giving Superman doing a couple of Superman centered stories where he saves the day instead of kind of weakening him and making him look kind of not doing as much in season 1. And if that's what they're doing here, and I'm worried if they have him getting beaten down, maybe even in reference to these other superheroes that show up in the film to make them on more even keel, this is a terrible mistake.
That's a
but
problem.
Again, it's all just speculation on my part. But yeah,
some of the best superhero some of the best Superman stories have been the ones where he's outclassed, right? Yeah. Where he's in a situation where he should not be able to win. When he's fighting 3 Kryptonian villains,
or
right? Who
fighting
are
Brainiac or something like that. Yeah.
Each as powerful as he is.
Yeah.
When he is fighting Doomsday, which, let's just be honest, it is the Hulk put into the DC universe. He comes back more powerful each time. You can't defeat something that gets stronger and stronger each time unless you go so far as to take both of yourself out with him, right?
Yeah.
You know, he always has a solution, right? He thinks outside the box. Well, I can't defeat 3 Kryptonian villains with brute strength. It's 3-1. I don't have 3 times the strength, but I can outsmart them. I can use their arrogance against them and depower them. And I win.
This is why we love Superman.
And this is how Superman wins every time. It's not necessarily even because of his powers. Maybe he loses his superpowers. Maybe there's a kryptonite situation or red sun or whatever. So he goes into his Fortress of Solitude and he gets a super suit, or he gets the supermobile, or he finds some way to keep fighting even when he should not be able to win.
But he does. He prevails.
Even Hackman's Luthor said, "Thank God," when Superman. Yeah, because he realized, oh crap, I'm in trouble. And in fact, I thought of that when I was watching that. Was it The Reign of the Supermen?
I don't know.
Or it was one of the animated features where Lex realized we're effed and we need Superman. You know, even though he's my enemy and I don't like him. I need to live to fight another day, and if that means Superman, you know, okay.
Well, that'd be something they could do in this movie. If in some bizarre scenario, you'd have to have Lex Luthor. Oh, I think that was in the one with the Parasite, where Superman goes to Lex Luthor. Remember?
Oh yeah, that's
right. And because they have to work together to stop the Parasite, which I thought was interesting. But
no, it was. I think it was.
It might have been a different one. I don't.
Whichever one it was, where the bad guy was using technology from Apocalypse to turn other people into NPC.
Oh,
like robotic, like.
I don't think I saw that one.
Okay.
I think you've seen something I haven't seen.
Yeah, possibly.
But I don't know. Be very careful about showing Superman.
I think it was Reign of the Supermen. Okay, you should check it out. I think it's on
it's
one of the streaming services.
It's probably on Max.
It wasn't OMAC, but they were OMAC-like characters that were Darkseid's boombox technology, and it had to do with Hank Henshaw working in conjunction with Darkseid is what it was. Yeah, it was the Reign of the Supermen animated feature is what it was.
And now let's go. Is this the last one?
That was the last Superman one.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. This is the scene where the guy throws the rock at the back of his head. Now, I remember I was talking with Al on Friday before the stream. He was making a point that he didn't quite like the uniform. I think the reason it looks dirty here, though, I think he's been through a battle or something.
Oh, yeah. It's very clear. So look at his face. I mean, he's my problem with the suit is twofold. Well, 3, I suppose. I don't like the Kingdom Come
the symbol, right?
That's another that I
didn't
topic
like
for another time. But what that means, implies, and what it's leading up to, I have a problem with. I have a problem with the collar because it comes off very authoritarian. You shouldn't have that collar on him. It should be off of his neck a little bit more. Other people have pointed out that he looks like he's kind of swimming in that outfit. If you're going to have a suit like that, let it be flattering, kind of like I mean, that's one area where the Snyder era super suit, worked better because it made him look muscular, made him look trim and so forth. My other concern, this is a prediction that I have.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's great that he's got the briefs back. Don't get used to them because I think that this is going to be the prototype suit, and then next movie he's going to change the outfit and he's not going to have the briefs again. It's going to be him reinventing Superman, and it's the time for the briefs is over with. That's my prediction. What Gunn's going to do?
Well, the suit's probably going to get destroyed by the end of the movie from the looks of it. So, yeah,
possibly a good.
You want to post the link to the next story though? This is the last one. Yeah, this is going to be the This is what I'll say. Not BioWare. The other one.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I miss one for Superman?
Maybe you didn't, and I missed.
Oh yeah, no, I'm sorry. I did.
Okay,
I did
it's
miss.
all right.
I did. Yeah, ignore that. That I just.
But this is where I'm going to leave it because Gunn is assuring us that that this movie is not what we think it is. Right? Is that what he's saying? So yeah. James Gunn's Superman takes flight. No universe building. Top Gun style action, and why the trunks won out. So on the surface, I like all of that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, again, but the proof is in the pudding, right? Let's dig into it a little bit.
With just days to go before the worldwide launch of the first teaser trailer, the Wrap visited the Cleveland set of Superman this past June, where director James Gunn was battling the elements to bring his vision of DC's Boy Scout to life. It's funny they mentioned the word Boy Scout, as that organization doesn't really exist in that name anymore.
Yeah, exactly. They pretty much got deconstructed.
Yep.
And are defunct now.
Between takes, Gunn sat with a bunch of reporters and revealed that his approach to the Man of Steel, one that focuses solely on Superman's story without getting bogged down in larger universe building. Okay, well, so he says zero, Gunn emphatically stated, when asked how much of the movie is dedicated to setting up other characters or future DC projects. I mean, maybe 2 little things, 2 moments. Basically, it's something there just to set up something else. It.
But pause that for a second. Well, first, using that kind of language,
I know
that's not real smart when you're promoting a Superman movie.
Yes.
Number 2, then you're sending completely the wrong message with this teaser trailer, because that's all this trailer was universe building.
Anyway, it goes on to say, for Gunn, this philosophy extends beyond just this film. Everything needs to stand by itself. I don't want somebody to have to go see this movie and be relying on anything else, Gunn said. If this sets up stuff in Peacemaker, which it does, then that's great. But if that is never, ever, ever with me going to be something that I'm going to sacrifice even a moment or a beat in the story, especially a movie. Gunn added, with TV, you've got a little bit more leniency to be able to do that, but in a movie, every beat has to be in there for the movie itself. The film starts with Superman already established in this world with existing relationship with both Lois Lane and Lex Luthor. We just start in the middle of the action, Gunn said. Superman is already existing. Lois and Clark already know each other. Lex hates Superman's guts from the beginning, although they don't know each other personally. So all this is fine, what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Gunn's vision for the film draws from various influences while maintaining its own identity. All previous DC media influenced me, Gunn said. I think that obviously the original Donner movie influenced me, but there's also a lot of things that this isn't. Like, I'm not going to make a Donner type movie. It's very different from that. Gunn specifically cited All-Star Superman as a major comic book influence. I do like All-Star Superman, noting its Silver Age feel. Yeah,
that has been part of the promotion ever since the beginning. The very first announcement that he was going to be doing this used that famous promotional still from All-Star
Superman, right?
And it implied at the time, this is somebody who understands Superman. I also agree with the idea of, yes, draw on some inspiration from the Donnerverse, but don't slovenly follow it, because there are good things from all the other incarnations of Superman that you should be drawing on. Right. Lois and Clark. Actually, that's another, you know what? I will give another positive to the trailer that we didn't mention, especially since we talked about Lois and Clark earlier. I said Lois and Clark focused on the relationship between Lois and Clark, and the romance, the building of the relationship,
very important,
leading up to their marriage. I got that from this teaser trailer, their relationship.
Yeah.
There was clearly a couple in love. I don't know if they're married or not. If they're not married, it seems clear they're leading up to a marriage.
Okay.
You know,
that's all good. Yeah, that's all good. I saw them doing kind of a dance thing in their apartment or whatever. Yeah, that was nice.
There was like 3 different scenes of them kissing. You know, one of which was them rising up into the sky kissing, which, you know, not done so well in Bryan Singer's, but at least he tried. Done much better in several of the Donner era films. Definitely done well in Lois and Clark.
Yeah. And it says that he's taking inspiration from Top Gun Maverick. They're using drones to capture Superman's flight scenes.
Oh, good.
Maybe that's what all the drones are flying about.
That's maybe what we've been seeing in New Jersey. We're just filming some pickup shots for Superman.
Yeah, okay. Let's see here. The tone of the film sets it apart from Gunn's previous superhero outings. It's humorous, but it's certainly not as comic or as much comedy as either Suicide Squad or Guardians. I have to say, I watched...
Or hopefully Superman 3.
I watched this Suicide Squad once. I've never had the desire to watch it again.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's plenty of humor in it. People like Rachel Brosnahan are so funny, and David Cornsman is very funny as well. And there's humor in it, but it's trying to create something that is grounded and something that... But also it's an incredibly fanciful world. It's fantasy. That's good. I often argued that I thought when they were going to do their Superman movie that they should have gone the opposite route of the Dark Knight. Instead of being rooted in realism, they should go for like a fantasy, like a fantasy Metropolis World of Tomorrow type world. But
I agree.
One of the most debated aspects of the production was Superman's DCU costume, specifically whether it included the classic trunks. Gunn, who was on the No Trunks team for a long time, changed his mind after conversation with Star Cornsweet. David said something to me that really affected me, Gunn said. Superman wants kids to not be afraid of him. He's an alien. He's this incredibly powerful, could be considered scary individual, and he wants people to like him. He wants to be a symbol of hope and positivity, so he dresses like a professional wrestler. He dresses in a way that makes people unafraid of him, that shows that. That was the actor telling this to Gunn.
Yeah. So that does a couple things for me. First, it kind of elevates Corn Sweat. See, that's the important, the way it's spelled. It's not literally corn sweat. It's corn
sweat, yes.
Which isn't much better, but let's try to pronounce it the way it's spelled. It does elevate him a little bit with the geek cred, kind of on par with who's the guy that played Man of Steel?
In the old days, actors used to pick fake names for themselves. He could have been David Armstrong. Come on.
Yeah, good point. That's
David
Armstrong
as Superman.
The big guy that previously played Superman, that's now
Henry Cavill.
Henry Cavill, thank you.
That was fine. That was fine. That wasn't
definitely somebody who understood the character maybe better than the people making the show. Same thing was true with The Witcher.
That's the
Looks
problem.
Like it's going to be the
Cavill.
same
He's
thing.
getting stuck on these things where.
Yeah.
And I think he eventually got let go from The Witcher over his complaints, probably. Yeah.
Let go or quit.
Or
I'm
quit.
not sure
one or the
which.
other. They didn't say
what. Either way, he can hold his head high in the in fandom over that.
Okay. Yes.
And I do feel that if this is true, then great on you. Corn Sweat, because clearly you understood something about the character that James Gunn didn't. But again, I do feel like that tells you where James Gunn's head is on this and why I think that's not gonna last, those briefs.
Okay, so Corn, Sweat, and Brosnan's edition tapes have arrived, and I saw both of those, and I went, we're going to be okay. The chemistry test proved decisive. So they have good chemistry. That's good. And your romantic leads, they have good chemistry with each other on set. So
everything I saw in that trailer implied that. So yeah, I'm with you.
So this is where I'm at with this. I'm really split because there are things in the trailer I like and other things in the trailer I don't like. And but I don't want a Superman where I like half the movie. I want to like the whole movie, and that's what I'm worried about.
And therein lies the other problem. This has to be a knock it out of the park. And honestly, this trailer needed to be that, and it hasn't.
No.
The fact that I see some positive things here, but I got a lot of warning bells too That's not good. That is not where they need to be right now.
Superman 3 was so bad, even Richard Pryor couldn't save it. He was funny in it, though, but yeah.
I will say this. I read the I have the DC comic adaptation of all of the movies, and their adaptation of Superman 3 was, if it had been filmed that way, would have been way better. The Gus Gorman character was a little bit more serious, a little bit more actually in a lot of ways even a little bit more sympathetic, even though he was less humorous. And honestly, that's a story for another day, but Superman 3 could have been a much better movie if they had not second guessed themselves.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's it. This was the big Superman trailer reveal, and we will keep covering it as time goes on when we learn more about this movie. I'm looking to 2025, and I'm thinking, what do I have to look forward to? There's one movie which we'll be talking about, which I am looking forward to. But let's move on to our next story, unless you have anything left to add.
No, I think we've done. Superman is.
We could have done a whole stream just on this.
We've bloodied and beaten this whole trailer in our
much like he was in the beginning of the movie. Okay, yeah. At least in the beginning of the trailer. All right, I'm not going to spend too much time on this. This is more BioWare nonsense.
It is a rumor. We don't usually bring up rumors, but it's kind of relevant.
Okay. Supposed insider claiming to be a contractor working on BioWare's upcoming Mass Effect 5 revealed that EA and BioWare might be shifting strategies in the wake of Dragon Age: The Veilguard's epic failure.
Failure,
this
yes.
is from that Park Place, so they're going to put that in there, yeah. However, since this information is unverified, we're treating it as a rumor for the time being, which is, I guess, good that you're doing that. A Reddit user on the subreddit Kotaku in Action claimed in a post to be a contractor currently hard at work on Mass Effect 5. He went on to say that an all-hands-on-deck meeting was recently called. Developers were asked to delay features, art, and content that may be deemed woke or political and defer them to future patches. The anonymous user said, as QAS we were tasked to report if we audit or detect anything that might resemble them so they can be fixed. The company wants to launch the game as clean as possible and introduce woke stuff silently through patches. I fear this might be industry-wide. They wouldn't be issuing so early otherwise, so tread carefully. It's entirely possible that BioWare and EA are wary of ideological or political content after the horrible failure of Dragon Age: The Veilguard. A recent report from YouTube creator Smash JT, citing sources within BioWare, stated that the big budget title has yet to move 1.5 million copies worldwide. Dragon Age represented a major financial and critical embarrassment for the BioWare. Many believe the upcoming Mass Effect 5 could be the studio's last chance. Andromeda
did I hear you say that EA was involved in this somehow?
Yes.
Okay. I can contribute something to this discussion then.
Yes.
Because as soon as I saw the topic here, I realized that this was very much like something that I had been dealing with until I walked away from it. A game I very much enjoyed from EA called The Sims.
Yep.
The Sims started out in a lot of ways that I very much enjoyed, but over time, their DLC contained more and more and more of the DEI woke BS that ultimately kind of broke the game. So I'm not even playing it anymore. I don't care. So then now that you say that, I can relate to that situation here and say bad, but very much in their playbook, so to speak.
Yeah, and this comes from Eddie Amon, and this might be referring to what you were talking about. According to my sources, and this is one of the most damning allegations, please listen carefully, Ed Mion said, is that the game industry across plenty of studios will start marketing their games as devoid of identity politics and pandering almost completely. However, the actual content of these games in the future will not be altered or lessened in terms of identity. of identity political content despite the tonal change in marketing. Essentially, Ed Beyond sources believe that the industry is about to start playing 4D chess with gamers, attempting to trick them to purchasing content that features identity politics. Simply put, many studios and publishers are still all in on the DIO wokeness in the
Let
future.
me tell you exactly how that's going to work out for them, this 4D chess. Because if you're thinking 4D chess, you got to be thinking, way ahead. We've seen this before. This is called bait and switch. If you think that your audience is already pissed off and not buying your games because of the content you're putting into it, just wait until you see how pissed off they get when they buy the initial game and then you switch on them and you throw a bunch of stuff in that they didn't pay for and didn't want. Now, not only did they not give you any money and are pissed at you, now you've taken their money and they're pissed at you. This is going to be even worse, and it's not going to go well for you, my friends.
We've had censorship patches after the launch of a game. This is the first time I heard of them maybe doing a propaganda patch after you buy the game. So you buy your game that you think is devoid of content, and they'll just throw it in later. Is that what he was saying, basically? Yeah,
that's what it looks like. Yes, exactly.
I wouldn't put it past them, and I could see that.
I wouldn't put it past them because, like I said, they did it with The Sims, and they'll do it with this too.
Yeah. Stay away from EA. Stay away from these games.
Real quick, I don't know if I said hi to you earlier in the stream or if you just got here, but welcome, Daniel Barry Sports Highlights. Always good to see you. And of course, Jonathan Conroy. Make good games with no bug fixes, and these game studios will survive. Well, no. What they're doing is they're going to make decent games, and then throw in the DEI bull crap later on, and just alienate their audience even worse, so that they will stop buying anything from now. The way it's going is we're not going to buy the DEI crap because that's what we know it's going to be. If you trick us, we'll never buy anything from you ever again, no matter how you market. That's what they think is 4D chess. No, I'm telling you, you're not even playing checkers, my friends.
Mods can edit out the DI stuff. I know that sometimes the companies get angry at that stuff. I don't know if there's anything they can do to stop it on PC. But
I'll be honest with you. There have been mods for The Sims for a very long time that have removed stuff like that. They added DEI stuff in mods if you wanted it before it was available. You could have same-sex relationships in The Sims for a long time before it was actually possible in the game because mods were created.
Okay. Deleted Scene says, what if they play Go? Are you talking about the Japanese game Go and that's the game? They'll figure out a way.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into it. There was this Netflix series that should have not been political at all, and they figured out a way to insert politics. It was about haunted houses, and they figured out a way to insert politics into it.
That's a great way to destroy what's otherwise
like a paranormal type show. That's what it was. Yeah, but let's move on to Pac-Man getting a new look.
I found this interesting. Yeah.
I found this bizarre. This is Pac-Man is getting a makeover in new game Shadow Labyrinth. This year's Game Awards came with tons of announcements, giving players plenty to look forward to. One of these announced involved one of the strangest yet intriguing teaser trailers of the night, showcasing the upcoming Bandai Namco game Shadow Labyrinth. The reveal trailer undoubtedly had many players saying, "Wait, is that Pac-Man? Yes, that's Pac-Man. They yazified Pac-Man." Well, okay, they didn't yazify Pac-Man, but they definitely gave him a makeover. Not only that, but they put him in an entirely unfamiliar territory reminiscent of Dead Cells and other Metroidvania roguelikes. In 2025, can we retire the term Metroidvania? But we're not going to, but I'll talk about that later. Okay, Bandai Namco hasn't labeled the new Pac-Man as a Metroidvania roguelike and is calling it an action-adventure game. So it's undeniably incorporates elements from these three genres and functions as a 2D platformer. So basically they're taking Pac-Man and so now in a similarly updated form to his classic, Pac-Man will be accompanying a character known as the Swordsman as well as being known as Puck in this particular iteration. Pac-Man is originally known as Puck-Man in Japan due to his hockey puck-like shape. So the name doesn't come from nowhere. Now he has a new companion, Ms. Pac-Man, and is doing much more than just avoiding colorful ghosts or fighting characters from other popular franchises. Shadow Labyrinth will honor its roots, of course, by placing players in a giant maze where Puck will be the swordman's guide. Does this not sound weird to you? It's like Pac-Man mixed with sword and sorcery.
How do you look? It's no different than the transition we saw of Mario from the generic plumber character trying to save the girl from Donkey Kong in a two-dimensional game, right?
Right.
Eventually he's got to become three-dimensional, and he's eventually got to have more story than just monkey took girl, gotta save the girl, you know?
I gotcha, but the stories he's in are still kind of ridiculous. I'm not expecting to see Mario in like a remake of The Godfather or something, or like a Grand Theft Auto style game, which might be funny, right? Mario, come back home and run the family business. You know, like he's using fireballs.
I don't know. I think there's been a lot of Mario. I mean, heck, just by adding Luigi, giving him a brother, there's more than one girl now in the storyline. There's Donkey Kong Jr. and all the other monkeys and whatnot. And then there's the Goombas, and there's the Bonzo or whatever his name is, Bruno or whoever the bad guy is.
Bowser,
the lizard bad guy.
Bowser, played by
whatever.
Dennis Hopper in the Super Mario Brothers movie from back.
Less said about that.
That's actually what this is reminding me of. Actually, this is like they're throwing Pac-Man out of his element. It could be brilliant. Yes, Secret Levels, this animated series on Amazon that does little shorts based on games, and they did one based, I think, on this, with Pac-Man being with this swordsman character. And I don't know, it's like Lord of the Rings meets Pac-Man or something. I don't know. It might be brilliant. I'm not picking on it. Maybe I'm being too...
You're right, it does sound strange, but at the same time, I'm prepared to give this a lot more latitude than I'm prepared to give, Superman by James Gunn, you know.
Yeah, that's we'll see with both of these. You want to do the next one? I'm gonna try to breeze through these. Ninja Gaiden is back.
Yeah.
If you ever see that movie, The Wizard, about the there's a scene where they has to go when they're getting what's the game that people are competing in. The guy says Ninja Gaiden. Hi. He says that, because we're getting a new Ninja Gaiden game. Apparently, it's a 2D game. I don't know if this is going to be in the same style as those classic NES games.
Well, it says a side scroller, so man, that seems
but remember there was the Ninja Gaiden arcade game. You might have played that.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
I absolutely
and that
did.
Was even though it had Ryu Hayabusa was the same ninja in it. It was a completely different style game on the NES. Ninja Gaiden has returned in a new 2D side-scrolling action platformer called Ninja Gaiden Ragebound. Revealed at the Game Awards 2024 that the new trailer below, Ninja Gaiden Ragebound sees new character Kenji Mozo face off against a demonic army. It's publisher by .emu, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge, and developed by Blasphemous Maker, the Game Kitchen, under license from Koei Tecmo. So this might be good. .emu said Ninja Gaiden Ragebound is based on the NES version of Ninja Gaiden. Here's the official blurb. A new hero, Kenji Mozo emerges in Ninja Gaiden Ragebound. The story picks up in Hayabusa Village after Ryu Hayabusa heads to America to avenge his father's death, as told in the NES version of Ninja Gaiden. Suddenly, the veil between human and demon worlds has torn, opening a doorway to darkness in Hayabusa Village. Kenji Mozo, a young ninja of the Hayabusa clan, throws himself into battle, determined to protect his village and its people from looming demonic threat in this dark and dangerous era. So I think what this is supposed to be taking place alongside the original Ninja Gaiden game, but while Ryu Hayabusa is doing his adventures out of Japan, this character is going to be doing something in Japan at the same time. So Koei Tecmo, please release the Ninja Gaiden NES trilogy in a collection. That'd be nice. Are you snacking?
No, I am.
I thought you were having sun chips.
No.
I have
Why
some
would you
chips.
specifically think sun chips?
I don't know, because that's what I've been eating lately. Okay.
Oh, okay. No, I Netter's got a couple bags of ink cartridges, and I thought they were spent ones from my printers, and they're not. And I was just looking to see what they were.
No, those ones haven't been used yet.
Oh, but they're for a printer that we don't have anymore, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm gonna put one up on
gotcha.
the site, neighborhood sites.
Gotcha.
Somebody buy.
See if anybody needs. Okay, but anyway, I'm a big fan of the old Ninja Gaiden games. I guess I could have done that for days. They had actual cinema scenes in between levels.
Yes, I thought that was pretty cool.
Even though that was done with 8-bit technology, yeah.
Well, and at the same time, that's kind of where you get your lore from, and for all those games being turned into movies, just follow that storyline and tell that story.
You know what's funny? In the first Ninja Gaiden game, I guess the CIA knows about all these ancient Japanese demons coming out, and they're sort of working with Ryu Hayabusa. And then in a later Ninja Gaiden game, the CIA, I think, are the bad guys, trying to create creatures from the demon energy they found. So it's kind of like a guy that was your ally in the first game. He's kind of the adversary in the last one. So it was interesting,
right?
Which I guess maybe it's not so. Anyway, let's not get into that though. Ninja Gaiden Ragebound due out summer 2025 on PC, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation, and Xbox consoles. So whatever you own, you should be able to get it on that. I do like .emu. They did a great job with the Blasphemous games. So I would. Are they race swapped ninjas? I have no idea. They look anime style, so who knows? I know in the original game he's Japanese, so yeah.
In these kinds of things, it's like even when you see them, you're like, I have no idea what race that's supposed to be. And you know what? I don't have a problem with that. That's probably just fine.
I always got the impression that he was Japanese in the original games, so that's because
I think you assume that until you have reason to believe otherwise, right?
Unless he's like Michael Dudikoff, the American Ninja. Do you remember those movies?
Well, if that's yes, no, I know exactly what you're talking about. But if that's the case, they kind of need that to be part of the narrative because you can't tell just by looking at them. Hell, these are ninjas. All you can see are their eyes, and that doesn't necessarily tell you either.
No, he does take his mask off at the end of the game though, because he's I think that's when he's trying to rescue Irene.
Yeah, just like when Lex Luthor was possessing the Flash, and he takes off his mask. I can see what his secret identity is. I have no idea who this is.
I remember that. Or Iron Fist. He wasn't Asian. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. What was Iron Fist? He wasn't a ninja though. He was something else. I guess close enough though. He was fighting.
Well,
ninjas.
Yeah, it was some kind
Maybe
of
he was a ninja because he was
fictionalized, like kind of like what's his name from Kung Fu.
Shaolin monk, but he fought a ninja clan because the hand is basically a ninja clan, right? That's exactly what I got from that. So now let's go to the next one. This is the big one.
Speaking of karate and kung fu,
kung fu and all that good stuff. Did you see this trailer this week?
I did not, because I haven't seen all of Cobra Kai yet, and I felt like maybe.
All right. I will. I am going to say this about this trailer. I did watch it. It's not going to spoil anything regarding Cobra Kai.
Oh, okay.
It's obviously taking place after that, and it's the character of Mr. Han, Jackie Chan's character, goes to visit. He says, "Oh, you knew Mr. Miyagi?" And he says, "I'm not here because I knew Mr. Miyagi. I'm here for you." And I keep thinking that Daniel LaRusso should at some point recognize that he's probably a world-known martial artist at this point.
And it's fine though that he might not.
Expertise. Yeah.
It does seem to reflect the mentality he's been in. It's all been about Mr. Miyagi, and he hasn't seen himself as becoming. He still sees himself as the Karate Kid, right? He doesn't see himself as the master.
Yeah. I really like the trailer. It's not going to spoil Cobra Kai. You can still wait to watch it, but it doesn't spoil Cobra Kai. But it's neat though, seeing like it being even looking like, I think it's the same set they were using on Cobra Kai for the Miyagi-Do, but it looks more cinematic in this trailer. And
sure,
I'm looking forward to this movie. I'm looking forward to finish up Cobra Kai, and then they keep the Karate Kid saga can continue on in movies now.
Right.
But the first trailer for Karate Kid Legends has been released, teasing as Daniel LaRusso, Rob Machi, Mr. Han pass Miyagi's legacy down to a new hero. The upcoming film is slated to release in May 2025 and will feature the returns of Chan and Machio to the series, reprising their mentorship roles from previous films. Ben Wan offers his talents as the titular kid in the story of Karate Kid Legends, starring as a student named Li Fong, who begins training under the pair. And I get the impression that this is someone who Mr. Han discovered from the movie, and he needs Daniel LaRusso's help. Now, Sony Pictures Entertainment has released the first trailer for Karate Kid Legends, teasing Daniel and Mr. Han's team up to train Lee. The trailer begins by showing Han training students in China, highlighting Lee as a talented student. However, for reasons not yet revealed, Han seeks out Daniel to help him train his newest student, the pair traveling to New York City, where he lives to continue their work. The trailer's somber tone highlights legacy, as both teachers have a connection to Mr. Miyagi in their past. A core focus is also on Lee, who is stopped by a gang of people targeting him in the subway. Learning karate is clarified as a defensive mechanism for him, as he uses his reflexes to kick down someone chasing him in an alleyway. Daniel and Han can also be seen fighting in a group, while a karate tournament on a rooftop signals a potential climax of the movie. The trailer ends with Daniel giving Lee a headband with a tree on it saying, 2 branches, 1 tree, hinting at the movie's themes, because I guess the 2 branches are Mr. Han and Daniel LaRusso.
Interesting.
Karate Kid Legends arrives in theaters May 30th, 2025. I think that this is great. I love how they're doing this. I think it's being done in such a way that if you didn't see Cobra Kai, you're fine. But if you did, maybe there'll be little Easter eggs in there, because it's kind of telling its own story. But it's not denying that. I don't think it's going to deny that the stuff in Cobra Kai happened. In fact, maybe there'll be mentions. And I don't know. The article later goes on to say, this is interesting. Johnny Lawrence has a special place in the hearts of Karate Kid fans, and his experience and growth make him an ideal fit for Karate Kid Legends. I don't know if he's going to show up. I didn't see him in the trailer. The film also promises plenty of action centered around Lee, who is seemingly learning karate to better defend himself in the streets of New York. So, trailer looked good. In fact, this was I don't want to make you watch the trailer if you don't want to, but I'm just going to say, this is how you hype a movie up. Kind of understated. I think it's the idea of seeing Jackie Chan show up, because he's a legendary kung fu actor, actor in kung fu movies, and seeing him run into Ralph Macchio. It's like you have these 2 legends meeting each other on screen for the first time, and it's like the next best thing to having Pat Morita back, I think. So
honestly, it also feels like there's something refreshing about what this sounds like to me, because you have 2, different aspects of this franchise coming together in what sounds like a team-up-y kind of way, not me against you kind of way.
No, there's none of that. This is mutual respect from what
because
I can see
we have seen way too much of that. I mean, even to a certain degree, and it kind of had to be this way, at least to start with, Cobra Kai, right? You had Danny and what's his name? The other main character from Cobra Kai.
Chosen? Johnny Lawrence?
No. Johnny Lawrence, yeah. Johnny Lawrence and Daniel LaRusso, very antagonistic.
Yes.
And it has to be, because that's where their characters were left off. So you needed that resolution that led up to a team up and kind of friendship, right? Whereas it doesn't always have to be that way, right? We also got that with Batman v Superman. It's like, no. There's no reason they can't come together and be, if not friends, at least allies right from the beginning.
This was the funniest thing in Batman the Brave and the Bold, when Superman and Batman meet on Batman the Brave and the Bold, and they're friendly toward each other. It says, I can hang out in Metropolis and help you fight crime. And I realized this is prior Frank Miller era of Batman. So that's why there's no animosity between him and Superman at the beginning of the episode.
Right.
I'd rather see a Chosen show. How about a Chosen Johnny Lawrence team up?
I kind of like to see that. I'd be really, really good with that.
But I thought Chan's Karate Kid movie was only movie in Cobra Kai's world. Do I have that wrong? Look, whatever they're, I don't know. I don't think that's the case. I don't think they mentioned it as a fake movie in the as a movie in the Karate Kid world, in the Cobra Kai world. If they did, they're probably retconning that now because I think now they're considering this character part of the Karate Kid world. So yeah. Batman does not eat nachos. Well, he did on oh, you're thinking of the Batman show. I was talking about Batman the Brave and the Bold.
Oh, okay.
He ate on the Batman show. He ate nachos a lot. That was his thing. Alfred made special nachos for him. Anyway, Karate Kid Legends. This is my #1 movie pick for next year. I guess there's this. There's the Mission Impossible Final Reckoning movie. Anything else coming out next summer I want to see? I don't know. They need to do better than this summer. This summer was atrocious. Oh, Kraven the Hunter.
Oh gosh, yeah, right. Here, let me drop.
Did you even know this was out?
I knew it was coming out. I didn't know it had actually hit, but honestly, I didn't care.
Film Threat was tearing this apart. Chris Gore over there. Kraven the Hunter set a new record for Sony Marvel with the lowest box office opening weekend.
Before we get into this, can I set up one little thing about this?
Go ahead. Yes.
And I know this is going to cover this because this is another of the Sony Spider-Man verse things without Spider-Man. And we've gotten some mixed signals. I've been hearing different rumors about what really is the case of why they're not using Spider-Man. We were told that Spider-Man was kind of tied up with their relationship with Disney. And now I'm starting to hear things like, no, maybe that wasn't the case. They could have used Spider-Man all along. And if that's the case, they're even stupider than we thought they were. Because I said from the beginning that Venom without Spider-Man makes no sense. The Madam Web stuff without Spider-Man made no sense.
I had made a comment they could have
without Spider-Man can make sense, but it didn't for whatever reason.
I thought they could have reintroduced Andrew Garfield with these other characters, the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. That
they could have done a lot of different things if they wanted to, and they didn't. All of this stuff that's Spider-Man without Spider-Man makes absolutely zero sense. And like I said, Morbius could have worked in the same way that Steel could work without Superman. It could work. They just never have done it that way.
Yeah, this is just it's done very poorly. It brought in 15 million internationally. Global box office gross total is 26 million. That's pathetic. This was a 100-something million budget for this thing.
And we're again dealing with another villain that they're trying to turn into an anti-hero. You can do that with Venom, but he can't start that way. He needs to start as a villain and become an anti-hero.
The villain in this movie I heard was called the Rhino,
which is a perfectly viable Spider-Man villain. And that could work with this. But again, it doesn't work if you didn't already establish it with Spider-Man.
Rhino, Republican in name only?
Well, yeah, another villain.
That'd be funny. Right? That would be funny.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not going to name names. I was thinking of a certain senator. He would be...
And you know what though? That's my girl. She thinks she knows what she's talking about.
It's funny stuff. Yeah. He said, I imagine the movie will drop like a rock next weekend. This was box office and will be reviewed. Yeah.
And they were right. Yeah.
Pulled out in the midst of us going into a holiday Christmas event. Given the film only grossed 26 million globally, it had $110 million production budget. $110 million for this thing. OMB Reviews states the film currently has around $152 million in the red. It's not going to make that money back. This is Sony.
Parker versus Romney deleted scenes. That's funny.
Oh, boy. You could say the film is not going to be the biggest box office loser of the year because there's films with higher budgets that did also really bad. So it's not going to be one of the worst performing films of the year. No lie, no doubt in my mind. And I do think it'll probably be on our list of top 10 biggest flops of 2024 once the numbers come in, he added. Yeah, okay. Yeah. And that was Robbins who said that. Anyway, I had no desire to see this movie.
I didn't either. I would have, because I like the character of Kraven the Hunter. His story with Spider-Man leading up to the death of Kraven the Hunter is an epic movie to be made.
Well, he was the main villain in the last PlayStation Spider-Man game. It was Kraven.
Well,
yeah,
rightly so.
Yeah.
Great character, great villain for Spider-Man, and they could have. This is an end game type of character. This could have led up to the equivalent in Spider-Man of the death of Superman, because he, in quotes, kills Spider-Man, and then tries to take on the Spider-Man identity using his power set.
Interesting.
And in so doing, he also goes like completely nuts. His obsession with Spider-Man just completely takes him over.
That's reminded me of Azrael Batman, actually. From
kind of like that.
Which they've never adapted. They've never done Nightfall or anything.
And Spider-Man there's this great bit where, and this would be like a 2-movie thing where he kills Spider-Man and then takes the Spider-Man outfit and becomes, in quotes, becomes Spider-Man at the end of the movie, and you're left with Spider-Man in a grave, right?
Oh.
And if you want to do that after credit stinger or whatever, it's Spider-Man's hand climbing, pushing away the dirt and him trying to climb out of the grave. That leads you into the next movie. And that would be awesome. But they did not even, there was no thought that they were ever even going to do that. There's no setup for that here at all. So they blew it. They blew all of their characters, and we're left with the fact that this did worse than Madam Web is.
That's saying a lot.
Just sadly funny.
Sony couldn't use Tom Holland's Spider-Man without Marvel because he was cast by Kevin Feige, so the only way to keep the rights to Spider-Man was to make these terrible movies. But there were other ways.
See, but Nate, I know that people have said that, but now we're starting to get indications that wasn't the case. That because of the way the rights exist with them, they absolutely do have the rights to Spider-Man. They could have made it a different Spider-Man.
But they did that with Into the Spider-Verse with Miles Morales, and then you have the different Spider-Man from the different universes showing up. So
and
that's
they
something
absolutely
they own.
Could have cast someone else as Peter Parker. They could have claimed this was a different Spider-Man, but the basic storyline is pretty much the same.
Yeah.
Same origin, Uncle Ben, Aunt May, all of Mary Jane Watson, all of that you already know from those other 3 Spider-Mans.
They could have done Spider-Man 2099.
Yeah, but then it wouldn't line up with these characters that they're trying to do.
I see. I see, because they need Aunt May and Ben Parker and all that stuff. I get you.
And Peter in particular. And it's definitely coming out that there was a way they could have used Spider-Man and they didn't. And that may come from a bad business decision where they were trying to walk a tightrope, have one foot in the Marvel universe and one foot in the Sony universe. And it's like Mr. Miyagi said, you walk on one side of the road, safe. Walk on other side, safe. You walk in the middle, sooner or later, like grape.
Part of me wondered if the whole point, one of the ideas behind No Way Home was that at the end, Tom Holland would have ended up in the Venom universe because of all the interdimensional stuff. And
that would have made sense. Yes. And in fact, that's definitely implied by the Venom cameo in whatever
in No Way Home.
Blah blah universe shows up. Movie that they did. But look, it's what I've said, crap or get off the pot. And they just can't seem to manage that. They can't seem to manage the Spider-Man property. So this is why they end up where they are.
Deleted scenes. Now you have to go watch The Flash for this comment. You're now. Okay.
Yeah, right. Sorry, I just had to get that out. He says.
Yeah, because they're driving us crazy with these horrible movies, and I'm done. Let's go to the next article.
And what is the ramifications of what they've done?
Well,
I think this is. This is it.
No, I disagree. I'm gonna keep this short too.
No, I'm not saying that this happening is the ramifications. I'm saying the fact that we're talking about the possibility is the ramifications.
A new rumor alleges that Sony is considering selling Spider-Man to the Walt Disney Company. This rumor comes from Scooper My Time to Shine Hello on X. He writes, I hear Sony is seriously considering selling the Spider-Man IP back to Marvel. Okay, now to be fair, he is saying considering.
Yes, I was going to say, you've got to be able to believe that they are considering that as an option. Now, I can come up with plenty of reasons why I don't think it can happen or will happen, but there is plenty of reason for them to consider this. Yes.
Even now, Spider-Man IP is worth a fortune. He's the biggest superhero at this moment in time. He still is.
Yeah,
he's bigger than Superman. I'm sorry, I love Superman, and I maybe prefer Superman to Spider-Man, but he's bigger than Superman.
From pure marketing, that's what I've heard. And this may have changed, but I have heard that Spider-Man is a bigger marketing element than Superman. I'll tell you this:
he might be bigger than Star Wars.
There was a Spider-Man 4-pack of action figures that Mego was re-releasing. Spider-Man, the 9-inch Spider-Man, the 9-inch Green Goblin, the 9-inch Lizard. Those were 3 Spider-Man figures that they put out in the 70s, and they introduced a new one that was never released before, Electro, in a 4 figure set from Mego. It went on sale today at 11 o'clock Central Time. It sold out in 2 minutes.
And
I'm hearing a lot of people in the Mego community saying that they had orders in. They had a limit of two sets of these figures per person. They had orders in. 3 hours later, after their credit card was charged, they were told, nope, it's been canceled, sold out. We have no idea who, if anyone, in the community actually got any of these figures. But there's plenty of them coming up on eBay by scalpers for twice the amount or more. That's how lucrative the Spider-Man marketing is. And I just got to say, I'm fucking pissed about this.
Sony only has movie rights, no merchandise. Interesting. And I knew they do have those exclusive Spider-Man games on the PlayStation, but maybe that's part of the deal they have going on with Disney to get.
If that's true, if they don't have marketing rights, then and actually that kind of falls. That does kind of scan with what I was just saying.
It explains why Disney can do stuff with Spider-Man that's not movies, like make animated series with Spider-Man,
or
Disney
can
do that, like television.
These toys, because these Mego figures I was just telling you about were exclusively through Shop Disney. This is not in any way connected to Sony. So Sony does need to make money with these movies in order for them to make money.
Yep,
and they may make some portion of the marketing off of specifically their Spider-Man characters. If they put out a Madam Web action figure and it actually sold, I'm sure they would make money off of that.
Yeah, but here's the problem. These are Spider-Man movies that don't have Spider-Man in them.
Exactly, that's the problem. So if they're not making any money off the character, that is exactly the reason why they would consider selling it. Because, hey, we're not making any money off this. In fact, it's money losing every time we make these movies. Maybe we sell it back to Disney and get what we can.
Is Disney willing to buy it and willing to
pay? There is where we start getting into the reasons why this may not happen, and I'm suspecting it won't. 2 things. One, does Disney want to make another acquisition when they're not even making the acquisitions they've done so far pay off? They've lost money on Star Wars. They are now losing money on Marvel.
They had a bad weekend with that Mufasa movie that came out this weekend.
Yeah, their own stuff is starting to lose money too. Everything from Pixar is losing. They are losing money on everything. Can they afford to try to justify obtaining Spider-Man when nothing in Marvel is making money as it is. Now, let's say that Iger, because he's a dumbass and he's just, it's not his money to keep shoveling at things. Hey, the reason that we're not making money in Marvel is because we don't have all of these properties under our umbrella to do whatever we want with. Let's get Spider-Man under our belt and we'll start making money. We know that's bull crap, but I could see him saying it. But is he going to give Sony the amount of money that they would ask for? And although Iger probably would, because he's already spent like more money than Star Wars was worth.
Could they trade? Could they trade Star Wars for Spider-Man?
They're both worthless properties at this point.
Yeah, I know that, but Sony might be able to this might allow Sony to clean house over at Lucasfilm because Disney's not going to do it. I don't know. I mean, I know Concord was supposed to be Sony's Star Wars though, and that didn't work out so well.
Yeah. So it does beg the question, and no matter who says they know, they don't know. Is Disney solvent enough? Everybody thinks Disney is the biggest company in the world and they have all the money. And I'm sorry, that's really not how business works. Having a lot of property, having a lot of IPs, having a lot of, in quotes, resources on paper does not equate to being solvent. That doesn't mean they have the cash to go and pay for another property.
No.
And they certainly don't have the credit line for it anymore. Their credit line is maxed out.
They need to make money. All right, last article of the night.
Oh, yeah. We're still talking about this moron.
I thought this was done, but it came up again. And this Alec Baldwin. So Alec Baldwin opens up about the shooting case. I think there's more to come. This is the point in time where I would tell him to shut his mouth and stop talking.
I still am waiting for the question that I posted to him on back when it was Twitter, a long time when this first happened. I said to him, Alec Baldwin, how does it feel to accidentally murder an innocent person? Because that's the question he posted to a cop some years ago in a bad shoot. And it's like, well, now you know, don't you?
On the latest episode of Fail Better, David Duchovny's original podcast, Alec Baldwin opens up about the on-set shooting that derailed his career and led to him facing down a potential prison sentence as he went on trial for involuntary manslaughter, telling the host and fellow actor that new information that would have exonerated him would have been revealed in court had the case not been dismissed at the 11th hour. The tragedy occurred on the New Mexico set of the Western indie film Rust on October 21st, 2021, when Baldwin discharged a prop firearm that had a live round in it, killing the film's director and photographer, Helena Hutchins, and wounding director Joel Souza. Baldwin was maintained that he didn't pull the trigger on the gun that killed the cinematographer when it was discharged. The actor in Rust Armor, Hannah Gutierrez Reed, pleaded not guilty to initial charges, but the young legacy armorer was later charged with evidence tampering and subsequently sentenced to 18 months in prison for involuntary manslaughter after going to trial. Baldwin's charges of involuntary manslaughter were dropped without prejudice, but a year later, a grand jury reindicted Baldwin on those charges following a new investigation to the shooting. The final twist came for the actor when Judge Mary Marla Summer dismissed his involuntary manslaughter case in July. Baldwin's attorney said prosecutors and Santa Fe sheriffs had concealed evidence from the actor that emerged in March after Gutierrez reached trial. Baldwin openly wept in court as the case was dismissed with prejudice, meaning that he cannot face trial again in the shooting. I think there's more to come, Baldwin told Duchovny during their revealing and in-depth interview. There's more to come, and the more to come is now my effort, and it's going to be undeniably a successful effort to raise and to expose what really happened. I was counterpunching. I was on the defensive. I was being accused. I was being indicted. As he elaborated on his perspective on the ordeal, he endured over the last 3 years. Baldwin went on to claim that the mainstream and tabloid press suppressed every story where he looked favorable and amplified every story that could hurt him over the 3 years since the tragic onset shooting. The truth of what happened has never been told, never. We have more shit that's going to come out in the ensuing legal filings and so forth. These last 3 years, people have dined out. Because in this country, when people hate you on that level, they want 3 things. They want you to die, he added. Baldwin then told Duchovny that his enemies are dead set on seeing him go to prison for the shooting and to be canceled, which he likened to being in prison or being dead because you roam the earth and you're invisible. That's what most people live day to day, Alec. Anyway, still, Baldwin was optimistic about his career prospects after the judge's stunning decision to dismiss the case. I do believe that by the communications I had lately, things are coming back to my way to work. And I'm happy at that because I've got 7 kids, he said. But I've also enjoyed the fact that there's so much of this case that's not known because we didn't have a full trial. What are your thoughts so far?
I think that he is delusional. I think that he is either lying or he honestly believes falsehoods, especially this bit about I didn't pull the trigger. That is demonstrably untrue. You can't change the laws of physics. You can't change the way that handgun works.
Could he have convinced himself he didn't pull the trigger?
I'm certain he did. He did. And maybe he needs to believe it, but it is not true. And what he's saying is, I'm going to keep defending myself and harping on this and coming back to it. And he doesn't understand that this will not help him. The case is over. He's best to stop talking about it because all it's going to do is make people resent him more and more. He can't be tried again in the court of law, but he has already been found guilty in the court of public opinion.
Now he's trying
and he cannot afford himself. And all he can do is make it worse for himself. He cannot exonerate himself in the court of public opinion because there's too many things that are true that he doesn't believe. He needs to stop. He really, really does. But he can't. He's too much of a egocentric narcissist to ever let this go.
Okay. Well, I think that I'm sure he'll keep spouting this stuff as months go on. Samuel Proctor says, just finished watching the greatest Christmas pageant ever. I think we have a new Christmas classic on our hands. It's been a while. Okay. All right. I've heard good things about that. Have you heard of the greatest Christmas pageant ever?
I have not. I don't know what this is.
It came out a little while ago. I heard it was good. I wonder if it's going to be like a live action version of the Peanuts Christmas pageant.
Interesting. Interesting.
All right. Are you tired?
Wait, this isn't that animated one, is it? That
I don't know what it is.
That Disney did that was, all full of DEI BS. It can't be. It's got to be something.
I think it's something else. It's something else. Okay. I'll look it up real quick. Okay. But anyway, I just thought it was odd that he was bringing it up again, though. That's why I brought up the story, because I'm like, you got off. I would have just moved on. But he's bringing it up again.
It's dumbheaded.
Live action movie. Okay.
Welcome, by the way, Jesse Green. And Samuel Proctor, didn't I say hi to you earlier? Oh, maybe you're over on the other channel. Either way, doesn't matter.
I do believe the prosecution probably screwed something up, though. I do believe that.
Oh yeah. I think that there were elements in the state government that wanted to just let him off, which I think played a role in it too.
Okay.
But be that as it may, he needs to let it go because no one else is going to give him any grace. No. The best he can hope for is to get people to forget about it. Yeah.
I mean, he's got to be in the twilight of his career anyway.
Then
why not
welcome,
just move
Samuel
on?
Proctor.
Why not just move
on? I thought you were here earlier, but
why not just move on? I guess that's the thing. Yeah. He doesn't like being invisible, and I was making that argument. Well, that's what most people are not famous.
He's like a dog with a bone. He feels like he's got to vindicate himself. He's right, and everyone needs to know that he's right. And that's not the way the world works. If we haven't figured that out in social media in the past decade, I don't know what to tell you.
And that's it for Geeky Geezers.
It is.
I am bushed. I thought we had a productive discussion on Superman.
I do too.
Warner's, if this is a dog, you're done. I'm not talking about done with DC. I mean, you might be done as a studio.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Tomorrow night I am doing a very special Monday Night at the Movies. The link is up, but I'm going to be actually pushing that out to 9:00 rather than 8:00.
Oh, okay.
Because I realized I have a dentist appointment tomorrow, and I probably won't be home in time to start the stream at 8:00. So it'll be 9:00.
Teeth cleaning?
No.
Oh, okay.
I had my teeth cleaning. I'm now going in to get some.
I'm gonna teeny tiny cavity.
It's gonna be very interesting. I'm gonna have. I may not be able to talk. I may be talking like this in the stream. But I don't even. My bum lip is in my lap.
So you'll be watching the Fat Albert Christmas special.
I'll be watching the Fat Albert Christmas special
with Mushmouth. Yeah, okay.
Jesse Green said they got an eye doctor appointment tomorrow. So
there you go. No, so at 9 Central, that's 10 Eastern, I will be hosting the Klingon Christmas Carol by very popular demand from the channel members. You guys came out and put your money where your mouth was and said, we want to see the Klingon Christmas Carol. So I am presenting it on Monday, tomorrow night, for this very limited engagement, private showing.
Gotcha.
Only those of you that attend live will be able to see it on Cosme with me. And we will talk about that.
All right, cool.
The subtitles are hardwired into it. It isn't a separate file because I think they assume that people need to be able to translate the Klingon. It is almost entirely in Klingon, so there you'll have to rely on the subtitles. Skuja. So yes, that's tomorrow night. And then Tuesday and Wednesday, what's going on Tuesday and Wednesday?
It's Christmas Eve and Christmas Day.
Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. That's right. So yeah, I will be hosting some very special Christmas Eve films on Tuesday. Just a couple of the big ones. Probably, I haven't decided for sure yet, but it'll probably be Miracle on 34th Street, It's a Wonderful Life, and I'm thinking White Christmas.
What about Nightmare Before Christmas?
No, I think we missed the window on that one. That should have been closer to.
Gotcha.
That should have probably been in November, actually. And then starting on something like 9:00 in the morning on Christmas, we will be doing all day Christmas marathon, kind of like we did for Thanksgiving, although I'll space it out a little bit better. There will be breaks in between. If you are planning on watching for an extended period, more than one film or whatever, maybe leave Cosme open because I will have some additional features in between the movies to check out. I think you'll enjoy. But I will be taking a break right around 3-4 in the afternoon to get some dinner and to check out another live stream on another YouTuber's channel that he does every year for Christmas. Kind of wanted to virtually join Michael over at Retro Blasting for a little bit for the holidays, and then we will come back in the evening. I'll get the schedule up on the community tab, and Netter will too. So check her channel too if you don't see it on mine, and you'll know what's going on. And of course, we'll be putting the streams up, so you'll see those as well. So that's Tuesday and Wednesday, which brings us to Thursday, Netter, what do you have a special guest on Thursday, don't you?
I do.
Very special guest.
Special guest will be Culture Casino.
Casino.
He's been doing some great videos lately.
That is a big deal. He has had a great year, and I'm really looking forward to talking to him about just that. And welcome, Tim Hayes. I see you there. I'll probably see you over on Michael's channel on Wednesday, I'm guessing. Maybe. That's Thursday. And then, of course, you've already told everybody Friday, 9 Central, 10 Eastern, will what has historically been the Geeky Geezers look back will be the last call look back and look forward.
The winners, losers of 2024 and entertainment, basically our geek news thing. But then we'll also talk about our predictions we'll name a prediction for 2025 in entertainment news.
There you go. That's Friday. Saturday, over on Big Al Presents Films with Friends is it takes place at Christmas movie. I believe that's Lethal Weapon, or was it Lethal Weapon 2? I think it was Lethal Weapon. I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, Big Al, if you're still in the chat.
I believe he said Lethal Weapon was going to be the movie, yes.
There you go. So that's Saturday on Big Al Presents Films with Friends. Deleted is confirming that as well. So that's 9 Central, 10 Eastern on Saturday. And that will bring us around to the week of New Year's, which, it'll be all the deleted scenes, shows, and whatnot, and another Geeky Geezers.
We'll be talking about the box office results from this weekend. It's an interesting story.
It's going to be interesting.
Yep.
It really, really is. Yep. I can already see that. And
yeah. And
do we have any movies that are coming out this week that are releasing over
Nosferatu comes out on Christmas Day.
What a weird one to be releasing on Christmas. They kind of missed their window not releasing that for Halloween.
I have no idea why people do what they do, but maybe this goes into your scary ghost stories. Of course, vampires aren't really ghosts, so I don't know.
I suppose.
I mean, when did Bram Stoker's Dracula come out? The Coppola movie, was that also a holiday release, as I recall, back in the day? I don't know.
I don't know. Alexa,
that's next week's.
When did Bram Stoker's Dracula release in theaters?
Thank you.
The film Bram Stoker's Dracula was released on November 13th, 1992.
November 13th. So
it was a holiday season movie.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah, not on Christmas weekend, but still. Yeah.
You could probably still see it on Christmas Day. So that maybe we'll talk about that next week. Bram Stoker's Dracula, the Coppola movie for good old days. I don't know.
No, actually, what we should talk about is Nosferatu itself.
All right.
We'll probably send up Midnight's Edge with their high definition restoration of the original Nosferatu. We will talk about that as well.
Sounds like a plan.
I think that's a good idea.
All right. Y'all have a good week. Stay super.
Sounds good to me.
And don't lie bleeding on the ground. Oh, and now we have a new
closing
outro.
Credits for Geeky Geezers.
Looking forward to it. Catch y'all later. Bye-bye.
Take care.